Welcome to The Lady Killers, a feminine rage podcast. And welcome to the Lady Killers, a feminine rage podcast. I am your host, Jennifer's Body Adams. And yes, some of us have been to Vidal Sassoon. You may notice that we have a blonde in our midst.
I was going to use that line for my introduction. No, it's okay. But I'm glad we were on the same wavelength there.
Yes. Now, you can't tell unless you're watching, but even then, like, I did just dye mine out of a box. Not nearly
there's
the
nothing
ordeal
wrong
it
with
sounds
that.
like Sammy went through.
It's been several sessions, and on Wednesday I was in the chair for about 5 hours from 11 to 4.
Woo, but
a
it looks
long
so
time.
good.
Thank
It
you.
looks so cool.
I'm glad it does, because it was a lot of work. You wouldn't think sitting in a chair that long is that much work, but by the end of it, I was like, because the bleach burns your head.
Yeah.
So my eyes were burning, and then my nose hairs were burning, and then it was like, it's on the skin, like it gets around this area, so that starts to burn. This was my first full-blown blonde bombshell moment. I've had like highlights and stuff, but now I'm here, and the big B.
Well, I have heard that your neighbors are considering you to birth the Antichrist. So I think that is a compliment as far as haircuts go.
I mean, honestly, like, I think the Antichrist already lives here in my house because of the dog that lives underneath me that I hate. So, but
well, hold that thought, because I'm going to ask you a question about someone who may live next to you in just a minute. But if you haven't figured it out yet, today we are talking about Rosemary's Baby, and that is because it is May. And we have a new theme. We are full of rich people. So now we are so full that our bellies are expanding as if there might be a baby in there. Because in honor of Mother's Day, this month we are talking about pregnancy horror. Not my jam at all. I'm sure I won't have any thoughts about this.
Well, you are the only one that has ever given birth.
That is true, yes.
Everything we say is biased opinions. So
it's purely academic.
Yes.
But I assume you do know about shitty neighbors. So, Rachel, say hello and tell us, what's your worst neighbor story?
Hi, Rachel Reeves here, and I could not be more excited. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, so very excited to get into all of it. Worst neighbor story. Oh man. You know, this is like, I've been lucky. Even like now I've got some good neighbors, live in a nice neighborhood where I actually like my neighbors. I have lived, like I lived in like the heart of downtown areas sometimes, and unfortunately that's like, you know, when you live in a bigger, like more congested area, I've had some people not always a fan of, and it's tough. Like I had a neighbor who was going through a difficult time, and that's always really hard to know how to navigate that, because you want to have empathy for people. But you know, when you're like, you walk out in your front yard to let your dog out and you see your neighbor's dick peeing in like the front yard and stuff.
A real hard time, I guess.
Yeah, you know, and just, you know, intoxicated at all times kind of thing. And it's like, it was a really unfortunate circumstance where it's like, especially when you know somebody, it's like, okay, you weren't necessarily always like this. So I understand. I've seen other sides of you. And that's always hard, because sometimes it's like, if somebody's just an asshole, it's like, I know how to deal with that. But, you know, just making sure to navigate things delicately. But thank God I don't have to deal with that anymore. Yes, he, you know, moved on, and then so did I. So that's fine.
Well, hopefully his hard problems and fallacies are better.
Oh yeah,
now.
and I mean, I don't need to, but there was a lot of other incidents as well. But that was just one where it's like, sir, it is 8 a.m.
Yeah,
and I did not.
It's early for a strange dick.
Unsolicited
to start my day.
You know, it's funny. I was going to say I've been that neighbor. I've not been exactly that neighbor, you know, although I have peed in a yard before because it was very dark.
I mean, who hasn't? But
who among us has not peed in a yard, you know?
It's easier for, like, you can't really see anything because we're, like, squatted.
We just got to squat. The danger for us is peeing on ourselves.
On our pants or our
clothes.
feet.
Yes, and I've done that before, too.
It's a skill.
I remember back in my drinking days, and my smoking days too, I would sit outside of my apartment door and I was flirting with this guy, and I kept showing him how I could flick cigarettes and how far I could. And I woke up the next morning and there were just like butts all over the yard. So I had to go pick them all up because I was like, oh, shit.
It
What
took
have
me
I
a few
done?
times. They're like, wait,
Yeah.
no, now this one I got
Exactly.
it. I
I
got
know.
it.
Let's see who can get it further. Yeah. Well, Sammy, say hello and tell us your worst neighbor story.
Well, since my name is already taken, this
Sorry.
is Sammy. I put the omen in women. Rothman.
Ooh, nice.
I'm also wearing my apartment 7A socks, if you can see them. The prequel
cool.
to this movie. I
Yes.
dropped my blanket, so I got to grab it. And
Ooh.
yes, I have in fact had a worst neighbor story. I'm actually currently living in one. Today, or not today, a couple of days ago, the most recent thing that happened was we kept going outside and our trash was taken out of the trash cans. And we were like, why? Like, why every time? So we like finally texted our landlord and the person downstairs. And we're like, hey, we're coming home and our trash is out every day. And she decided that she didn't like the way we were putting the trash in. And then she said, I probably could have found a more passive aggressive way, or less passive aggressive way to tell you
Say more.
how to. And we were just like, so the trash would sit out for like, because we wouldn't know, and
Yeah.
somehow that's better than being in the trash cans,
Yeah.
not put in the way that you'd like it. It's not the first time she's gone through our trash. We are not allowed to light candles because she doesn't like the scent of candles, which I've talked about before, even though we are in a multi-living unit. And as many of you know, we are in a historic house that many people like to come by and check out. And she decided she didn't like the pumpkin downstairs anymore. So she took the pumpkin so that no one can take a picture with it. So you have to BYOP, bring your own pumpkin when you come to the Laurie Strode house.
Oh, God.
Also, her dog hates me, and I feel the same way, and barks all day, every day. And because of everyone coming to the house, because it's a filming location, the dog barks all day at them. So I'm not really sure what the thought process was moving in here, knowing the situation. Every time I go down to do my laundry, like he's at my ankles. Right, I've almost fallen down the stairs multiple times. Like we are in a burbs type of situation here. The animosity towards each other is mutual. And I have talked a lot about it in therapy recently. I've upped my meds recently because of it. Like we are literally Mac and Dennis moved to the suburbs episode of It's Always Sunny. And I think what I found out was that living in a suburb is somehow louder than living in a city because you hear everything. And because we're right across from the library, it's all day, every day lawn work and construction. It's just, it's yeah. I love the house, hate the neighborhood now. So
that sucks.
the pumpkin thing is probably the most egregious thing because it's like it is literally, it's been here for decades. And someone,
it's so annoying. Not to go off on a tangent, but like living in an area, I mean, I know your house is not the only house, and like the Nightmare on Elm Street house has been notorious for the person living there not liking the fans. And you know, I understand wanting to have like your privacy or whatever, but at the same time, like you said, there's lots of other houses.
Right. It's a predictable problem.
Why willingly? I'm sure this stuff is disclosed to either renters or potential purchasers of famous properties. So like, why would you? I guess maybe they just underestimate. Maybe they're not horror fans and are like, oh, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Even who cares about this movie from
we
1995?
literally are around the corner from the Myers house and like the head. It's literally like there are tours that go through here. So it's like, it's all a part. Like you can't, if you Google our address, it just says Laurie Strode house. Like it doesn't, it's like a place. It's a historic landmark. So I really, I have tried, I have mulled over it for many months now, trying to figure out why someone would move into a multi-living unit in a historic home if they didn't like that.
Maybe they like to be contrarians.
You know what? Given what I feel and what I have seen the last 2 years here, that checks out a little bit.
Yeah.
I imagine she's divorced for a reason. Sorry, guys. I not to be. I love other women, okay, but this one and I we got beef.
Fun.
Okay,
yeah.
we are actually being scouted for Netflix next season of Beef.
Ooh, nice.
Here in LA.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't wait to see who they get to play me.
Awesome.
But
maybe Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
Well, speaking of her, although I don't know if the age thing would quite work out, but it's funny. I was just watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she showed up to the season 12 reunion.
Oh, nice.
And she had jack-o'-lanterns made for all of the housewives. And you know what they were? They were fucking grateful because that is a gift.
Yes.
And a pumpkin has never done anyone wrong.
It's
except
fake.
Pumpkinhead.
You just leave it there
that was
all year.
It's a witch's fault, and she can do it
Yeah,
wrong
very
too, so,
true.
you know,
Yes.
yeah. Well, I've had pretty good neighbors. Knock on wood, they're fine. I mean, they put Trump flags up every once in a while, but other than that, they're fine. And actually, our neighbors on one side, like our families are really close, and Corey and the dad hang out all the time, and then my son and his son are best friends. So it's like really good. And my other neighbors are great too. They have 3 teenage daughters, which was fantastic when we needed babysitters.
Nice.
Not
but now
so
you don't
great.
anymore, though.
We don't, and now they're all driving, and they park right in front of my fucking house all the time. And it's like, this is the stupidest problem ever because it does not matter. But like, there's no effort to park in front of their house. There's plenty of room for 2 cars.
Your driveway?
They're not blocking my driveway,
Okay,
and that's
they're just
the thing.
parking in front of your house.
They're just parking in front of my house. So every time I pull up the street, I'm like, oh, somebody's at my house. Oh, wait. No,
It's just
it's one of those things. Like, again, it doesn't matter. And if this is my biggest problem, I'm very lucky, but it just
First world problems.
fucking
But still,
crazy.
do all 3 of them have cars now too?
They do, but 2 of them are in college. So it's just like one during the week and then one on the weekends. And Corey is like, okay, we are going to have 2 kids that are driving in a couple of years. We may have the same
park
problem,
in front of their house. Yeah.
I know. Oh, every time, like when our driveway was all iced over, you bet your ass I parked in front of the
I
house.
would have.
So it's like,
because it's a quid
cute.
pro quo,
Exactly. It's like,
if you're going to park in mine, come on.
Yeah,
I can do it too.
It just drives me crazy. But it's fine.
Gears. It's all right.
It does grind my gears. But it could be a lot worse. They could be trying to impregnate me with the Antichrist.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it happens all over the world,
I mean, what happens behind closed doors sometimes is horrifying. So let's talk about the horrifying story in this movie. In our first category, her story.
I am so much happier now that I'm dead. Technically missing. Soon to be presumed dead. Gone. And my lazy, lying, cheating, oblivious husband will go to prison for my murder.
And this is the section where we tell the story of the film. Spoilers abound, so listen at your own risk. Rosemary Woodhouse and her husband Guy are touring the Bramford, a well-known apartment building in New York City. They end up renting a unit after the old lady tenant died a few weeks ago. In the laundry room, Rosemary meets Terry, a recovering addict who is taken in by Roman and Minnie Castevet, an elderly couple who live on the other side of the Woodhouse's wall. But just days later, Terry jumps from one of the upper windows and dies in the street, or at least that's what the police assume.
Mm-hmm.
Despite this tragedy, the Woodhouses make fast friends with the Castevets. Guy, in particular, is fascinated with Roman's stories and begins spending time next door. A lucky break at another actor's expense leaves Guy suddenly successful and in the mood to make a baby. So excited that he's marked Rosemary's ovulation days on the calendar. Red flag number 1.
Also, if you're trying to get into acting, having a baby is probably like the last thing you should do at the moment. Guy.
Yes, that's you're gonna have to be taking some paternity leave. Although Guy would never.
No,
Yes.
God,
It was a
no.
different time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yes.
He's like, oh,
Unfortunately, we're still in a similar time.
or some of us are trying to get back
Yeah,
there, and
yes.
it sucks. We may have some thoughts.
Mhm.
After a romantic dinner, complete with Minnie's famous chocolate mouse. That's the most I like Minnie, because I think that's
Is it chocolate mouse?
she
Well,
calls
that's how
it.
she
I mean, it's
says it.
chocolate
Oh, okay. I was
mousse,
like,
but
is
she
that
calls
really
it chocolate
it?
mouse. I just think it's cute. Like she's just like, oh,
I was like, maybe in some other places that is what they call it. Okay.
No,
okay.
that's like you're so fancy. Oh, you're so fancy kind of
It's a
moment.
little Minnie
you know?
Mouse. Okay.
A little-
Yeah. She's playing on words a little bit.
It is Minnie
Yeah.
Mouse. I
Yeah.
did not put that together. Maybe that's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. So after eating said chocolate mouse, which has a chalky undertaste, Rosemary starts to feel a little woozy. Assuming it's the wine, she goes to bed early and has a dream that she's being assaulted by a devilish figure with a bunch of naked people standing around watching her. The next morning, she wakes up with scratches on her back, and Guy says he didn't want to miss baby night. Red flag number 2. A few
big red
weeks
flag.
later.
Sorry, big red flag.
I think, yeah, it's like it's bigger than this room. Like that video of that guy that runs around with it. Like that's that. Yeah.
That's like a Les Mis size, like a red
Yes,
flag,
yes.
just waving around, Yes, yeah. To her credit, she does actually say that too. It's like, all right, so you're not a fool.
Mm-hmm.
So a few weeks later, Rosemary finds out she's pregnant, which is great news, except that Guy immediately runs next door to tell the Castevets. Minnie insists that Rosemary starts seeing Dr. Saperstein, their friend and a society OBGYN. He tells Rosemary to ignore all pregnancy advice, to not take prenatal vitamins, but a special drink that Minnie will make for her every day, which looks disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
She'll also wear a good luck charm filled with tanis root, which appears to be the same charm Terry was wearing before she died. The pregnancy gets off to a strange start. Rosemary finds herself craving raw meat and has a sharp pain that Dr. Saperstein keeps telling her will go away. It'll go away in about 2 weeks, I kept thinking. She's finally ready to crack when the pain finally does subside and the baby starts to move. The only downside is Rosemary's friend Hutch goes into a coma just before she was set to have lunch with him. Fast forwarding about 6 months, Rosemary is reaching her due date when Hutch dies. But just before, he sends a book to Rosemary called All of Them Witches, aka the name of my autobiography.
I just love the way she says it too. Like
I
"Oh,
know.
them witches. You're so cute.
I did have a column at Rue Morgue online called All of Them Witches, which was about witches in horror. And it's probably still up. I didn't write it for very long, but it was fun.
It. It's cute.
I think the last one I wrote about was Ursula the Sea Witch, and that was
cute.
real fun.
Aw.
So,
I'm gonna cover that one of these days.
I mean, absolutely
I
we
love
can.
Ursula.
Yes, I do too. Yeah, I saw some meme the other day that was like getting older means discovering Ursula had some good points,
Well, also,
she's
like,
not the villain.
I thought the human version of her was a babe when I was
Mhm.
younger.
Mhm.
Like, she's
Yep.
a brunette baddie, man. I
yeah,
love her.
she can get shit done.
I think it's
She's-
Rebecca or something like that.
I think it's Rebecca. Yeah,
Doesn't that sound
Mhm.
right? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds
listeners,
right to me.
Yeah. We're going to go with it. It's
Yeah,
fine. I think
yes.
it's Rebecca. So, reading the book, Rosemary discovers that the Castevets are actually prominent Satanists and believes that they want her baby to sacrifice in their ritual. She further realizes that Guy and Dr. Saperstein are in on it too. Dr. Saperstein. I had to correct that spelling.
It's an
all over the
evil
outline.
last name for some reason
It is.
to me. It just sounds like sinister, and I'm not
From the
sure
devil.
why. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it sappers your will to live.
Yeah. Yes.
It's pronounced Saperstein.
Saperstein. Oh,
Yes,
pardon me.
yes.
No, I'm just joking. But I just think of like Frankenstein and like
Oh, yeah.
Frankenstein.
Saperstein. Yes. Desperate to save her baby, Rosemary runs out of the house with her hospital suitcase and goes to Dr. Hill's office. He claims to believe her and goes to make arrangements for her to go into the hospital. But he actually calls Guy, who arrives with Dr. Saperstein. They take Rosemary back home and discover that she's in labor.
That was like a meme face, Jen.
It's awful. It's like I forget that it happens, and then I'm like, oh yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
And just the fact that he doesn't ever address her again, too. It's like, oh, the men are here.
The men are here. I don't have to talk to this Looney Tunes lady anymore.
Fuck you. Oh, and we'll talk about it because, so yes, they discover that she's in labor. So of course, Dr. Saperstein gives her a sedative because why would they need Rosemary to help deliver this baby? When she wakes up, Guy tells her everything's okay. She had a boy. But later, Dr. Saperstein tells her the baby actually died. Oh, but they'll still need her to pump breast milk so she can recover. And don't forget, it's your fault for being so hysterical and not letting us take you to the hospital. Sorry,
It's yeah.
When Rosemary hears a baby crying, she sneaks into the Castevets' apartment with a knife and finds everybody in the cult from her dream and her baby in a black crib with an inverted cross. Roman tells her that he is Adrian, Satan's son. That's what happened to his eyes. Though she's initially horrified, Rosemary seems to agree to be his mother. And I feel like that's kind of understating the end of this movie. It's kind of one of those things you have to watch to get the full picture of it because it's great.
It's a boy. She's ready for her shower.
Exactly. Yes. So, Rachel, you mentioned that you love this movie. What is your story with Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah, I love this movie. This is like a foundational text, I feel like, in my own personal horror journey. And I watched it like a long time ago, but I had watched it when I was starting to kind of get into horror. And same with Alien, it was one of those movies. Like I started with the classics, the Halloween, the Friday the 13th, like slashers kind of stuff. And then I saw Alien, and then I saw this, and it just completely blew open my mind of like, oh, what horror can be, what it is. And I mean, come on. All of the subjects that we're going to talk about today, it's just like, how can everything like
Yes.
this that I love be in this movie? And just the aesthetics of it, the performances. And then also, I will say too, once I read the book
Yeah.
and realized like, oh my God, this is one of the best adaptations of all time.
I've never read it, but I was like, I have a couple trivia
So
factoids,
good.
and it's
Yeah.
pretty spot on from what
It's-
I've read.
Oh no, there's like,
Like,
lines of dialogue.
yeah.
It reads very, very much in line. And the vibe of like so much of what you think is in the movie, it's actually from the book. So
Yeah.
Wow.
just if we're giving credit to certain
Let's
people or whatever.
Give it to Ira Levitt.
Ira
Yes,
Levitt,
because it is a
so
very
many.
cinematic book.
Bad
And
people
very
can make
different
good
vibes
art,
also.
as we know, as
They
we're
can,
aware.
yes.
Yeah, so like a lot of it is just directly taken from the book, and the fact that this whole story is told from Rosemary's perspective, like we're with her the entire time. There's all this
Yeah.
other stuff around, but she is really centered at this story, and we're feeling it like through her lens and kind of
Totally.
following along with her. And I think that's so special. And yeah, please. I mean, you got witches, you got Satanists. There's some blurry lines there, which I think is really kind of funny now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, watching it's like, oh, there's some liberties taken with these kind of ideas, but that's fine. I'm all for it. And it's also one of those movies. I don't know if you guys ever have this, like when you move to a new place and you don't have your internet set up, and there's like certain things that you'll watch. So for me, it's always been Sex in the City and Rosemary's Baby.
Do
like
you have
those
physical
are
copies of them, I'm assuming?
of course, yeah, like
Yes.
stuff that I can like watch before my
Yes.
internet's set up. And so for some reason, yeah, it's like Rosemary's Baby's always like, it's like, okay, welcome to my new place.
Yeah.
And also just to remind me, yeah, like be a little skeptical of your
Yes,
neighbors.
yeah.
Like,
It is
worst
moving
case
day
scenario.
horror.
If there's
you know?
anything that looks
Mhm.
like it's blocking a door, maybe
Yep.
take a look at it.
Check it
Go
out.
Check it
Make
out.
sure there's no secret passageways,
Yes.
of course. And
And never
yeah,
talk
it's
to old people.
yeah,
you know?
exactly.
That's also what I
Beware.
learned.
And like it's one of the few, like I have a Rosemary's Baby tattoo.
Oh, I
on my
had
arm.
no idea. Oh
That's
my
what
gosh.
that's for. So it's one of the few movies that I mean, there's several, but one
It's
of
a
the
Rachel movie.
one of them.
It's on
that
your
is
Mount
just-
Rushmore of
Yeah, it's on my it's
stuff.
in my letterbox top 4. Let's put it that way.
Love that. Well, Sammy, what's your story with Rosemary's Baby?
Mine's similar to Rachel's. Is like, this is a movie that's just been in my life for so long. I really don't know when the first time I saw it was, because it played on AMC all of the time, if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, and it was always like alongside The Omen and The Exorcist. And while it was edited for TV, you still get that same fear it's intending to highlight, because I think almost none of the horror comes from the supernatural element for me. It all comes from the paranoia that she's feeling. And I think that's so much scarier. I think this was like the first movie that taught me kind of to be wary of strangers, you know, and when you move somewhere, don't just like trust people out of politeness, you know what I mean? And I also feel like it's a movie that sort of perfected the rug pull. Like you think she's safe. Like I said, like I forget every time about the doctor. I'm like, cool, we're almost there. And then she's right back in it. And I think, as you know, I've said before on the podcast, like no one believing you, no matter how you try to convince them, is just, it's so scary to me. And I find myself getting angrier and angrier every time I watch it. Like I think at the end, every time I'm like, ugh, like I feel really amped up. It's not like a movie that I put on to relax, really, because I get so amped up from what's happening to her. And I did find, you know, as I do, a bunch of trivia for us to chew on before we move on. So I'm sure Rachel knows a lot of these. But right before the movie started, I was like, I've always thought this was Mia Farrow doing the vocals. And Mike was like, yeah, me too. And then like it was the first thing on the IMDb trivia. I was like, does the vocals for the title sequence Lullaby? And I was like, it sounds so much like her, and it is her. That's why.
cool.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. It's so pretty, and I just love the pink font. Like I think it's the first time I ever saw that like bubble pink font, you know, the cursive lettering. We obviously have seen many movies go to take that on. And I think I would put it in. It's not girly pop horror for sure, but it is like it's a girl movie. I feel like I feel like
definitely
women are usually really drawn to this one.
Mhm.
And as you guys were saying, so Ira Levin felt that this film was, quote, the single most faithful adaptation of a novel ever to come out of Hollywood. William Castle speculated the reasons for this were because it was the first time Polanski had ever adapted another writer's work, and he was unaware he had the freedom to improvise on the book. So he was like, I guess if I'm adapting, which honestly, like, I love, because when things get changed for no reason from a script or like from book to screen, I'm like, you have the source material there. It's already written for you. You don't have to do anything. Like, I hate that. So I was actually on board for this little factoid.
Especially a book as good as Rosemary's Baby, because it is really good. It's like around 200 pages. Like it's
a quick read then.
Yeah. And the Stepford Wives, he also wrote Stepford Wives
Did
too.
see that.
And that is also a very great, I think it's like 170 pages. So highly recommend both of those books.
Is it small font or like, because I just
Can't remember.
Okay.
I think it's just normal. Like I've got like an old paperback that's like yellow, you know, so it's just kind of.
Well, I did see the only thing that was like excluded from the source material was this phone call that she has with her sister, where like the sister warns her is like I feel like something bad's gonna happen to you today. Stay indoors. And she's like, okay, I'll stay indoors. And it's like, well, the indoors was where she was in trouble. So I thought that was interesting, and I liked that. And then this one's cool. I like this one. If you're a fan of Shudder's cursed films, William Castle was convinced there was a Rosemary's Baby curse. He thought Sharon Tate and the murders that happened there, and a urinary tract infection and various other maladies and illnesses he suffered during this period were evidence of a curse. He was so scared that the devil was out to get him during this period, he remained in seclusion for several years. So William Castle became a bit of a agoraphobe after this, because they were after him. And I love a good cursed film thing. Like
and again, that's interesting because it's like the horror comes from inside the house here.
Yes,
you know,
totally.
It's like the people you thought were safe, not the scary world. But also I could see it just paranoia,
anything.
You know?
Like, and it breeds that. Like, I think it's self-fulfilling. When you start, it's almost like how I would describe my OCD a lot of times is like that wishful thinking. Once you've you're manifesting it once you've said it out loud, and then you can't.
Exactly,
now it's going to happen. And then the baby is due in June of 66. So that would be 666. And then the I think it's the Omen remake also came out on 666, and then Mia Farrow is their nanny in that, which I thought was cool too.
That's right.
And that's one I think that you on Halloweenies are going to be covering a little soon. So
Probably.
I am assuming if you do all of them, but I have not seen it since it came out, so I'm actually kind of excited to revisit that one.
I think I put that on recently, and I was like, okay, this is. I mean,
Julia
it's not as
Stiles?
good as the original
Yeah,
one. But
no.
and Liev Schreiber, like him too.
Kind of dig
it's
it,
not,
you know?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not the Psycho remake, we'll say. You know?
Exactly. It's not the worst one I've ever seen.
Exactly.
And then I did love this one. Rosemary's Haircut by Vidal Sassoon is also in the book. And that's why they like kept it, which is just crazy. Like, that's how specific he was. He was like, we're keeping the same hairstylist. And then the book itself was influenced by Roald Dahl's 1960 classic short story Royal Jelly, which I had never heard of, so I wanted to look it up. It's a macabre 1960s short story featured in his collection Kiss Kiss, and focuses on a beekeeper named Albert who feeds his underweight baby daughter Royal Jelly to help her thrive, only for the baby and eventually himself to exhibit bizarre insect-like transformations and behaviors. So I was like, I've never heard of that. I thought that was interesting. Kind of the Fly.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I've definitely heard that. And then
love Matilda, but
who doesn't? I mean, I love most of it. James and the Giant Peach is one of my favorites, man. And that's talk about another great adaptation. But the movie begins. My final one is the movie begins in 1965, and during the New Year's Eve party, Roman says, "Happy New Year, 1966, year one." This is a nod to Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan, since Anton considered 1966 year one because 66 is when the Church of Satan was established. So there's a couple little factoids for us going forward.
Nice. Well, I think Actually didn't know most of those things because, like, I feel like this is like y'all. This is a movie that's always just kind of lived with me.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't remember. I do remember reading the book because it was in my, like, I'm reading The Exorcist, I'm reading Stepford Wives, I'm
Yes.
reading Wise Guys, which is the basis for Goodfellas, like, and The Godfather. Like, I just went through this kick of like reading all of those 70s books that became, and Jaws too, you know, that became these iconic
They're the
movies.
classics. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was really in my, well, in the book actually era, which, you know, I had fun with, but I don't think anybody else did. But so I don't remember the first time I watched this movie, but I remember always liking it. And you just hear about it. It's like a classic movie and everybody, and for good reason. Like now that I know more about films and horror, and like you can see all the ways that it's rippled through, and like after having my own babies, I can see a lot, like I feel this a lot more, you know. And it's just, I think it's just a fantastic movie, and I really love what it is saying about women and the way we treat women, even in like 68, I believe it's 68, right?
Mhm.
Like it just, so many of the things that we're going to talk about are still so relevant that it's just, it kind of blows my mind, you know.
Scary.
I will say one of the things we are not going to talk about in this episode is Roman Polanski. Yes, we've mentioned him as the director. Like Sammy said, bad people can make good art. We are not going to get into Roman Polanski.
It's not his
We know-
story, okay?
Exactly.
It's her story.
It is her story. Yes. So, you know, but we know we're not going to talk about it. But we are going to talk about some women who are fantastic, even if they're very, very bad. Let's do that in our next category. Who is she?
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles, and we'd all eat it, be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
Okay, so we got to talk about Minnie Castevet, who is played by Ruth Gordon, and she won an Oscar for this role. And I love to hate her. Like, I like her on screen, but if she was in my hallway, I would
I'd be so
absolutely
fucking
run
annoyed
the
by
other
her.
way.
Like, I can't.
Fuck no. Yeah.
Like the stop and chat, I'd just be like, please don't.
Oh my God.
Like it's. Just
Uh-huh.
get out of my house is what I would say.
It reminds me of, you know, that scene in Christmas Vacation where everybody is just peacefully doing their own thing, and then the grandparents knock on the door. It's that scene where she's put her record on, she's laid down, she's reading a book on her new sofa, and then fucking Minnie and her knitting friend just come on in and they sit down and they're just. Bah, 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 bah.
I
It's
hate
like,
that lady too. I hate how she shakes the bassinet at the end.
Oh
it
my
drives
God.
just
Yeah.
fucking like he's gonna. I know he's the devil's kid and probably has like some sort of, you know, like helmet on his head or something. But like, man, you're gonna give that kid a concussion.
Well, and it's funny because like rocking swiftly is something they tell you that does
really?
soothe babies. Yeah, because if you think about like the baby in your stomach, like you're not moving slowly, you're moving pretty swift. So it
Fast.
kind of mimics that feeling.
Okay.
But if the baby's not stopping crying, fix it, lady. You're an idiot. So also that's when they're in your arms, not in a fucking bassinet. Anyways, that lady's got some problems. And I have some problems with her, so much so that I didn't even look up her name. Anyways,
Don't like her.
so, Sammy, since you mentioned Apartment 7A, and we have the fantastic Mare Winningham playing Minnie Castevet in that movie, this is kind of a bonus question, but just quick thoughts on Apartment 7A, because I was surprised by how much I liked it, you know?
I need to revisit it. I think I went in with sort of really low expectations.
Yeah, I was like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's, and I think for me that made them have to retcon several things to kind of make it fit. And I don't love when that happens. But I do love Julia Garner like so much. I think she's incredible. So I did like her playing this character, even though she doesn't really look anything like the neighbor. But that's totally fine. Again, like I have to overlook that. We got a like pillow, and then I got these socks and a couple of other things, and like a little like care package thing for the movie. And so I obviously kept the socks. The pillow used to be over here by Mr. Bones, but I don't know where it is, but it was like it said like at least we're not dead, or we're better off, you know. It's like the worst could be is like death, something like that. It was like knitted. It was really cute. I really liked it. But yeah, I just remember kind of being just like not that I hated it. I don't remember hating it. I just remember kind of going, well, we didn't really need that by the end of it. Like, and I think that's with so many of these prequels that we're doing, and that are just kind of going straight to streaming too. Like, I don't feel like they have a lot of like belief in them really either, because they don't really market them or anything. And I kind of felt bad for it. Like I was like, that's a demanding role for it to kind of just not get marketed, just kind of thrown on. I think it was Peacock. Or maybe it's Paramount. Either way, but like
one of those P's.
She went through a lot, like the dancing and everything like that, and it's just like for nothing, like it's like the Salem's Lot remake kind of, or like any of the Stephen King remakes recently, where you're just like, okay, that didn't really do anything that made the source material better, I guess.
Yeah.
But because I love her so much, I enjoyed watching her performance, and I liked being back at the apartment too, because it's cool. Like I just really liked the setting of it. But yeah.
Well, and I want to correct myself. I said Mare Winningham is actually Diane Wiest, who plays Minnie Castevet in that movie. So apologies to everyone who's yelling at me in their car. Rachel, did you see Apartment 7A?
I did not. This is one of those things, like, I love this movie so much. I was just like, I don't want to do this to myself, because I think I'm just going to get mad. And I think I waited for, like, some initial reviews to come out and I feel like they echoed Sammy's sentiment, which is just kind of like, meh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. It's fine, but why? And I was just like, I've got so many other Real Housewives to watch. I can't deal with this.
Seriously. Well, and it came out right around the time the first Omen came out too, which we have an episode on that. So go back to listen to our thoughts there. And I think my bar was so low for it that I was pleasantly surprised. It's also got some ballet horror to it, which I really like.
Yes.
It does some things that I really like, and then it does some things that I'm like, why do we need this? But I think it was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. So, but listeners, we would love to hear from you. What did you think of Apartment 7A? You can let us know in the comments. Okay, let's talk about our victim. Speaking of Apartment 7A, it's Terry. She is our first victim. And then Rosemary is also a victim.
Yes.
Okay, our motive. She's victimized here.
But
yeah. And this is one where it's got, like, I think I struggled with this category a little bit because I feel like there's just such a low body count here, that I wanted to find, or I feel like I'm used to finding more victims, but it's really just Rosemary here. There are so many more villains in this story than victims.
Well, and this is just who we know about, too.
That's true. Yeah.
And we don't even know that much about them, like because again, like Rachel said, like we are seeing everything through Rosemary's eyes. So it's not like a movie in which when you're away from Rosemary, you get to see what other characters are doing. It is totally like she is the narrator. So we only see what she sees. So we only know what she knows. And I would be down for, like, maybe if we did a movie about her or something, about Minnie, because I would love to know, like, how did she get into this? Like we were gonna do
hot
something
Minnie, like Hot Wonka.
Minnie and Roman, they're meet
hot
cute.
Minnie,
love story with Minnie and Roman.
I love that. And I mean, it's also like kind of a weird coinky dink that the character's name is Roman, and then Roman Polanski directed it, and then I think there's like another
guy
name.
Roman too, because his name is Cassavetes.
The last name is so similar. Yeah,
I know.
So,
I was like, are you telling on yourself?
Yeah, are you also a Satanist?
I mean, and I guess we should also count Hutch as a victim, and then Donald, the play guy who goes blind, or he's victims. But we just don't it's just so Rosemary focused.
We don't see them really. I mean, we see him once.
We see Hutch, and that's it. Yeah. Although I do like his library collection.
It's very nice.
That's cool. I would be friends with Hutch.
Yes.
Okay, our motive, all of them witches, which I just love. It's just like evil. And I think that's part of what I really like about this movie. It's like, it goes with like The Omen and The Exorcist of like, I just love when Satan is the bad guy, That's just fun.
It's a very hard good versus evil. Like it's black
it really
and white.
is.
Like,
Yes. And sometimes it gets a little religious for me. The Conjuring, but I feel like not necessarily here, or at least there was still some subtlety to it in the late 60s and 70s. Okay, and our weapons, this chocolate mouse, which every time I say it I feel like it sounds dirty, so I'm gonna maybe say chocolate mouse now. Okay, and tanis root. And then, man, the audacity. Like, she is one of those people that does not feel shame, and that is how she
I could never live my life like that.
People.
Like, it's just
seriously.
It gives me, and that's why I like this movie. Gives me a lot of anxiety while I'm watching it, and that's the intention. So it's not like I'm knocking on it. I know what I'm getting in for, but they absolutely succeeded in making my blood pressure go up every time I watch this film.
The biggest weapon in this movie, just gaslighting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just absolute manipulation and gaslighting and wordplay. Like, that's what I love watching this too, and just especially once you know everything, obviously. And I think a lot of people, even if you haven't seen it, know. But watching it back and just seeing how clever even Minnie herself is with her words and how she's just navigating certain situations. Like, girl, you should go into improv because the way you're just
seriously.
like
Yes-anding out there.
Oh
Yeah.
my god,
Mhm.
so just like
when
a
she runs
marvel.
into her at the shopping, like Christmas shopping thing, I hate it because I'm just like, she's like, okay, I'm going home now. And she's like, well, now I'll go home. And it's just like, bitch, get away from me.
Get away from me.
please.
Yes. Oh, it gives you hives,
Mhm.
And it's like, this is what, every time I talk about Firecracker on the Girls on the Boys from The Boys, it's like, because I hate that character so much. And it's because Valerie Curran is doing such a fantastic job. And I think like this Oscar was well deserved.
Yes.
Like Ruth
Yeah.
Gordon is crushing this role, even though she's not really in the movie that much.
Oh, but
It's like,
she is
when
but she makes her presence known.
yes, memorable.
because she's
eats
the
it up.
puppeteer, like
Yeah.
it's all her. I mean, it's her husband too, but still, she is like the one in charge
Yeah.
of making sure this all goes to plan.
Yeah, but he's a nepo baby too. Like she's the one who has like
Yes.
she's
She
pulling all
married
the
into
strings
this.
behind him.
This is why I want to know, like, how did you guys meet?
Yeah.
Exactly. Their meet cute. I need to know.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
like set up? Like, were you into Satanism before, or did he on the date kind of lightly bring it up to kind of test
Yeah.
the waters? And you were like, I'm kind of interested in this too. Like, I just would love to know how you broach that subject. Is like, hey, we're on the third date, so I
What
wanted
if it
to
was
let
like
you know.
Grease?
Yes, like
she's like, I'm really attracted to this hot bad boy. Maybe I'll
Yes.
become a Satanist.
things some women will do.
Hey,
true.
look, I did a lot of stupid things for some stupid
Same
men.
here.
So
There's a lot of people who will join the church for a man. So why not?
That's
the
true. Why not
opposite
the Church of Satan?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to mention doctors and connections. That's also something she weaponizes too.
Mhm.
But while we're talking about meet cutes and love stories, I did not notice until this watch that the woman in her dreams that comes up and says, perhaps you better have your legs tied down in case of convulsions.
Mhm.
The IMDb trivia credits her as Mrs. John F. Kennedy. And I was like, oh,
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
yeah.
So
yeah.
she's supposed to be Jackie O?
She's
Yeah.
supposed to be Jackie O. I think my brain shorthanded to that's Terry.
I never
you know?
knew that.
I
Oh
didn't
my
either.
gosh.
It was because I looked up that quote. Like I'd never even thought. And if I go back and look, Rachel, you may know better than me, but she's probably wearing like Jackie O coded stuff,
Yeah, like her
Yeah.
hair. I don't think she's wearing a hat,
The
but
hat.
yeah, just her hair and her outfit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the implication is that the Kennedys were Satanists, is what I am getting from it.
Well,
I mean, I
Okay.
think my modern application, or maybe it's that the establishment,
The big
is
powers that
evil,
be, you know? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Because
the government
we have that
is lying
Asian
to
character
us.
too, who I feel like is supposed to be like, like a head honcho over wherever. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
the vibe I got from that. Is like we have other countries involved in this.
I think
Yeah.
it's also like this is kind of her fever dream. Like there's a mix of Rosemary's own things. And as
Yeah.
we know, like she's got some complicated feelings about her Catholicism and stuff. And
Mhm.
obviously JFK, like they were a
they were
Catholic
hardcore
family.
Catholics, yeah.
And so
Mhm.
I think it was her, I feel like in some ways it's like Jackie O is kind of like the epitome of Catholic class and
Mhm.
status and, being a good wife and stuff. So I think there's like some weird fever dream
Yeah.
interpretation in that. And just better have your legs tied down because you still want to be a lady. And if you're going to
Mhm,
convulse, like
mhm.
just get this over with
That
kind of
makes
thing.
sense.
So
I
I think
like
there's
that.
some mixed messages in there, but I think it was very intentional for sure.
I
Yep.
wonder if that was in the book or if
I don't
RP
remember.
was like, let's put
It
the
probably,
Kennedy in there.
I mean, everything
probably
else
was in
is.
the
It probably
book.
was. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I read it, but like
'Cause it
there's
does
like
feel like a
lines
kind of-
it's very much like from book to page to
yeah.
screen kind of adaptations. So
Okay.
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me.
Well, okay, at this point, I want to recommend again the book Ask Not by Maureen Callahan. Not going to go into it, but it's about a lot of the bad shit that the Kennedy men
It's
did.
so many bad things.
It's
you guys.
a lot of
It's
bad things. Also want to
overwhelming.
recommend the podcast, the Kennedy. Oh gosh, it's something about the United States of Kennedy. It's
Oh, I'll
over,
check that
like it
out.
just wrapped up, but it's
Mhm.
just like a deep dive into all
Mm.
things Kennedy. Because this felt very interesting to me, especially considering we're talking about a rape scene. So I kind of just
Mhm.
wanted to talk about the scene in general. What do we think of it? Does it feel exploitative? Rachel, what do you think?
Okay. I love this rape scene.
I do
Hear me
too.
out.
No, I don't. I do
But,
too.
Clip it.
I know what you're
love
saying. I know what you're
this.
saying. Trust me, you're in a safe
Yeah.
place that recognizes
Yes.
what you are
I
saying.
asked, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't find it to be exploitative.
No.
I think it is a really interesting portrayal of it. I love how because Rosemary did not eat all the chocolate mouse, she's not as drugged as they think she is, because we see her dump that out into her. So she's got some, but she's not as drugged as they maybe were hoping she would be, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
And so just the way you kind of feel like her subconscious talking to her, and she's talking to herself, and she knows something's not quite right, but at the same time, like not in a place to really understand what's happening until the classic line, right? Wait, this is no dream. This is really happening, kind of thing. And that's what I love about it. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people can relate to that. Like, I don't know. But like, even just speaking for myself, I've been in positions where it's like, I've been probably a little more intoxicated than I should have. I don't know if I've ever been drugged. I don't know for sure, but I've been in situations where I was not making the best decisions. And there's definitely things where it's like you're at an out of body experience, and you don't have to have been like assaulted in any sort of way to have this, but even if you've just been a little too drunk and you kind of have that out of body experience where something's happening, but also you feel like you're kind of like a voyeur. And like, I think that that's a really relatable experience. And it doesn't have to be intoxicated. My worst one was when somebody told me that I was smoking opium, and I was so naive that I didn't realize what that actually meant. And and that was my like largest out of body experience.
Yeah.
So just
because that also has like properties that make you a little like whoop whoop,
Oh
like,
yeah, but it was like the craziest thing where I literally felt like I was standing outside my body watching myself.
You do it. Yeah.
And like, luckily I was in like a relatively safe space. And I know that sounds very ironic, seeing how somebody was very careful with their words and knew that like if they said what it actually was, that I wouldn't partake with them.
Yes.
And I feel like this is one of the better on-screen portrayals of that feeling.
Totally.
Yeah. And having your gut kind of fighting what your brain is capable of doing in that moment. And that's why I don't find it to be exploitative, because we're seeing it from her perspective and we're in it with her. It's not people looking like, we're not watching it happen in a way like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, look at this happening. Like, we're with her. And it's really allowing us to feel that. And so I think that's the major difference is like, are we observing this event or are we partaking in this event? And by partaking in it and being with her, it allows you to feel the horror and the experience in a much different way, but in a way that as an audience member sitting on your couch or whatever, it really is deeply unsettling still. I will say that.
But beautiful. Like,
I think so
kind
too.
of a beautiful scene. Like, it's filmed really, really beautifully.
And edited well to like not have it be too much of one thing, like kind of the flow state between her fever dream and what is actually happening, and the kind of the disconnect
there. Is so pretty. Like the scenes on the boat, I think, are so pretty because she's just kind of rocking, and it kind of would feel like a sea underneath you a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that. Yeah.
We see enough to know exactly what's going on, and we see enough to know how bad it is, but it's not overwhelming, especially considering some other scenes. Like, this is not I Spit on Your Grave.
Exactly.
And I say that with love.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Love that movie, but it's not the same thing. I think it gives us enough to understand the context and her state of mind. And we also see some dong here, so it's
and
dongs
her,
for equity.
She's nude too. And it doesn't feel like pornographic to
it doesn't
me.
No, it's not filmed with the male gaze.
It's it's not really sexual. It doesn't feel really sexual for any, like, it doesn't, I don't know.
Well, and I don't think it is. Like, even for them, it's ritualistic.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not motivated by like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this hot bitch kind of thing.
Exactly.
And take
it's not
advantage.
An orgy,
Yes, like even if from their perspective, like, this is a kind of holy ritualistic moment.
Yes, totally.
And I think that is also exhibited in the way that the people are acting around them too.
Yeah. Sammy, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I do want to point out that the worst husband in cinema history is named Guy, and I just think that is so perfect. The movie is basically saying, like, guys are the worst, And I kind of like that. I love
Very
that.
Slumber Party Massacre remake too.
Exactly. It's a little play on words there.
Love it.
And I think so much of that comes from, like, my feeling of that is that, like, after, the events of that night, the next day, he expects her to wake up and make her breakfast. And it makes me so angry. Like, she is hurt. Like, her body is physically like torn up, and he's like, get the fuck up and make me breakfast like it's any other day. That makes me so mad. So that's at top.
Oh yeah.
And
Guy sucks.
guys suck. That's the moral of the
Yeah.
story. But I agree with Rachel. I agree with you, Jen. I think it's an incredible scene, you know, despite the evil that's within it. And
Yeah.
I will be the first to say that it is not triggering for me in a way that is like, oh my God, I can't watch this, but triggering in a way where I'm like, oh, I know this feeling. Like I know that feeling. And if you can make a scene like this for someone who's maybe gone through something like that and their reaction is to feel seen and not so much repulsed, I think that's kind of an interesting thing. Like, yes, it's repulsive, but like I saw a lot of my own experience within it, and I think that was almost kind of nice to see, because I was like, oh wow, this looks like, I don't know, it's like a confirmation for the thing that you went through, kind of, I guess. And while, you know, I never love to get into the too nitty gritty of it, I will say that like that in and out feeling that Rosemary is like kind of experiencing, that dreamlike state, isn't unlike how it feels in reality, even if you're not drugged. You know, like you're in a disassociative state, and it's almost like your brain is protecting you from the horror that's happening to you, which is like kind of an incredible feat on the brain's part. But it's both, I think, miraculous and terrifying that our brains will do anything to protect itself. And it's looking out for you in a way that is like, you can't comprehend, kind of, because you're not in charge of it. Like, it's doing it on its own, kind of. And on top of that, you know, as I've also discussed, the gaslighting she experiences the next day is like screen calling for me, because what happened to me after I had a lot of people, you know, go like, well, you know, it wasn't what you thought it was, and all women have to sometimes just get it over with, type of thing. And much like Guy, you know, I was woken up to, and I kind of like was sitting out on the patio, and he said goodbye, and then he never saw me again. I was out of the house that day, left a note and peaced out. And every day I thank whatever is out there that I had the strength to do that. And when I watch this film, I wish Rosemary had the strength to do that too, because, you know, there is an alternate reality that I became just like her, you know, and a victim of the patriarchy in the worst possible way. And so this was my first time watching this film since that has happened to me, and since I've gotten older, and there's been almost 10 years since, and I think it was just therapeutic in a way that I wasn't really expecting it to. And that is a feeling that is kind of hard to grapple with when it's a rape scene, you know, like you never start your life hoping to see yourself in a scene like that. And there was a couple of different conflicted feelings I felt because of that I talked about in therapy the next day. So that was nice, because I needed that. I was glad that I had it scheduled for the next day, because I was fine, don't get me wrong, like I wasn't like cowering in the corner or anything, but like it left me with a lot of things that I had to mull over, I guess, after.
And I think that's the purpose of films. You know, that's part of the reason that we like horror a lot. It's funny because we're talking about Unbelievable on Murder Made Fiction. I just had a very similar conversation with Joe about like the movie Irreversible, because I weirdly had that same feeling watching that movie. And that movie is,
I've never seen it, but I know it's a crazy one.
It's a hard watch. Okay. I don't think we'll cover it because there's not really
any women,
female villain in it. But you know, but anyways, it's just, I think that is the power of film, just watching, you know. And we used to talk about this on psychoanalysis all the time. It's like the ability to push pause and say, this is not real. This is not really happening, even though I can kind of channel some of my feelings towards it, you know, I think is really important. And I'm all about to say too, if this is a movie you have chosen not to watch for that reason, we completely understand.
I totally,
you know? Or any reason. Reason.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and like my experiences many years in the past, and I've done a lot of therapy, and that's how I can engage with stuff like this, you know, but completely understand if you're not in that place. What place is that? Let's go to another place.
Let's get out of here. This is the bad place.
Exactly. We're going to get in a phone booth that is going to magically transport us to Cedar Sinai. Every time I hear that word, because I've never actually been there, I just imagine
Isn't
it's
it
like
a hospital?
It is a
Yeah.
hospital.
Okay.
But it just it sounds like so much more magical than it
Yeah.
probably is.
It's the
I don't know.
cedar. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
the
it's like
cedar
tree,
cyanide, like
maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, so that's where we're going. We've got our suitcases packed because, you know, you need to. And especially when he's like, why do you have your suitcase packed? It's not for 3 weeks. I'm like, because
Ooh.
babies come
Come
fucking
whenever
early
they
sometimes,
want.
guy.
Yeah. Guy, you
Especially if it's your
stupid.
first. Oh, anyways, okay, I'm not going to have my head
Hate
explode.
guys.
But so yeah, let's get in. We're going to fake our phone call and we are going to get into the phone booth, loser, because we are going killing.
This woman will soon cut, chop, break, and burn 5 men beyond recognition. And there isn't a jury in this country that will convict her.
All right, let's dig into the details. Let's talk about Minnie. And I love how Rosemary kind of low-key hates Minnie too,
Yeah.
even though she's kind of rides that line of like, I'm friendly, but I also know that she's the worst. And if we didn't live next to each other, I would never talk to her ever again. And I only invite her in my house because I have to, you know?
Because she
She
shoves
says-
her way in.
And then she asks about how much her chair cost, you know, which I thought that was funny too, because I have asked that question before. But it's all about the climate, you know? Like, I don't live in the Bramford.
Well, yeah, not somebody you've just met.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, how much did that set you back? I just love her accent too. But Rosemary says she's the nosiest person I've ever met. And then Minnie later says he chose you, honey, from all the women in the world to be the mother of his only living son. Who is that he? She's talking about, oh, it's Satan. Okay.
But did he, you know, like, was he like,
I was like,
No.
I think you chose her.
Clever with her words.
yes.
Uh-huh. And in the midst of all of this, I love that she picks the knife up off the floor and then she like smooths it out. That's
Oh,
just
love
a
it.
little detail that I'm like, yes, Minnie, because above all, you need your house to look good.
That
you know?
house is really old too, and it would probably be considered like a landmark at this
Historical
point.
landmark.
Yes,
It's an
so-
antique apartment, you know?
Yes.
So, Sammy, how does Minnie earn Rosemary's trust?
I think it is quite the combination of her aggressive friendliness and these nurturing kind of tactics that play on Rosemary's desire for community, you know, and Rosemary's polite nature. You can tell that it's really hard for her to say no because most women at that point were bred to say no and to be obedient and just, you know, kind of go with the flow. Don't be disruptive. Don't be confrontational. And I think by presenting herself as this sort of harmless maternal protective figure, Minnie's able to just like embed herself into their daily life and then quickly sort of integrates themselves as like their surrogate grandparents, I feel like, for the couple, or like parents, you know. It feels like she's dealing with in-laws almost at a certain point. And I think when, you know, Rosemary develops like her pain from the pregnancy, Minnie's able to step in even more with like tailored care that seemingly ends the pain, but like that leads to this intense sort of gratitude Rosemary feels for Minnie, I think. So there are several different things that I think like make Rosemary need her, that like she's obviously been, you know, as I said, puppeteering along the way. And then there's also the word of the day is the gaslighting coming from Guy, who calls Minnie's efforts, you know, quote, neighborly, and encourages Rosemary to accept the gifts to avoid being rude. If Mike ever did that to me, I'd be like, no, I'm not taking the smelly necklace. And if I do, I'm not fucking wearing it. Like, it's going right in the junk drawer. Sorry, dude. I don't really care about being polite. But I think that further kind of manipulates Rosemary into adopting a more compliant, you know, vibe to fit in with their expectations. And I think that the villain in a larger sense is politeness in a way, you know. And I think recently we've even had a few movies that kind of highlight how being passive in order to avoid conflict can end in tragedy. Most recently, I think the Speak No Evil, both original and the remake, kind of play on this fear. And I was thinking a lot of those movies as I was watching this, because I do feel that they took a lot from Rosemary's Baby. Like they're so nice, and there's like, it's politeness is, there's a line, you know. And I think some days we are incapable of kind of being able to withhold the boundary that we need to with certain people.
Yeah. Oh, when Guy is like, well, it's not fair to Dr. Saperstein, I was like, are you fucking kidding
I don't
me?
care. Like,
Yeah,
I
like,
don't
Sorry.
give a shit. Yeah,
Yes.
like it's
Oh.
we're not gonna tell him. Like, do you know how many
Yeah,
fucking times I have
exactly.
just stopped going to a doctor and went and saw another doctor? Like,
And doctor, like I've probably said this, but my therapist once told me I will manage my own boundaries, and it just like unlocked so much
Yes.
like
Wow. Yeah.
just empowerment for me. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not going to worry about you. I'm going to do what I need
These
to do.
are my boundaries. Your boundaries are cool for
Exactly.
you, but these
Yeah.
ones are for me.
Exactly. And that is the whole point. Like they are providing care for you. And that's what Dr. Saperstein is there for, is to care for her. And it shouldn't have anything to do with his feelings. And Rosemary sees that too. But Rachel, what do you think? How does Minnie work her way in? Other than
Yeah.
just pushing in the fucking door.
I was going to say, I think there's a lot of elements at play here. They're literal
Yep.
neighbors. And so it's like
Mhm.
one of those things where, especially when you're new, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to deal with these people. So you're trying to
Yep.
be nice and not immediately be like, oh, am I going to be antagonistic and immediately like create an enemy in this place where I live? I also like, it's funny thinking back, and Jen, maybe this is a Southern thing, rooted thing. Maybe it's not, even though I don't live in the South. But like I grew up in the Methodist church, and
too.
like all of my quote unquote elders, you know, we called them Miss Sarah, Miss Judy, Miss. It was like, as a, like, you call all these older women Miss whoever, even if they're married. But
My
like
friends or my son's friends call me Miss Jennifer. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like a respect
Mhm.
thing, I feel
And
like, and
Mr.
it's
Corey,
just
yeah.
oh, they're you know, you just give these people respect
It's
because they're
deference
like
for
older,
that age.
yeah,
Yeah.
older women that you're around in your circle or whatever. And I think there's an element of that where it's like Minnie's not a threat, and it's like, what can you? She's annoying, but is that a reason to actually cross that line and be rude or set your boundaries and do something that you
Yes.
know is going to upset this person? And I listen, I'm like, you, the answer can be yes, but I think
Yeah.
I think that's something, and I think that's a situation that anybody can relate to, where it's like this person actually isn't doing anything completely like wrong or like,
Yes.
but at this, so like, is it worth it? Is this the moment where I upset them?
Yeah.
In
rock the
some way.
boat.
Do I want to rock this boat? And I think Rosemary should have, and she does at
Yeah.
times. And you feel that battle because it's like she hasn't actually done anything too wrong other than just being a fucking pain in the ass and obnoxious. But I think the main things that she does to earn her trust or to keep that ambiguity going is just she's older. It's her personality, and she does give in sometimes. Like there's
Yeah.
moments where like she's like, okay, or like sure, yeah, I'll come back later or whatever. And it's not always as aggressive. She's willing to give sometimes, and I think that's very clever on Minnie's
Oh, yeah.
part, where she's like, hey, I'm going out, I can't do my drink at 11. She's like, oh, it's fine,
That's fine.
come by later, you know. So it makes it feel like there's some sort of reciprocal respect.
Yeah.
The illusion of choice.
Yes.
Just going to say that illusion of power.
Even when
yeah.
even when there's not, it's just kind of very clever manipulation in that way, where Rosemary's like, okay, well, she's not like this all the time.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, well, she actually is.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just find it a very remarkably nuanced performance, whether it's the writing and the performance. And I mean, come on, look at her. She's Ruth Gordon, just the way she looked and the costumes and her manner. It's so incredible.
She just reminds me of all of my grandmother's friends when I was younger that like have they've been smoking cigarettes for a real long time, and they've got the cigarette mouth, and they like, she's also got like, the skin, like just the skin of someone who has never worn sunscreen, you know?
Yeah.
And I like, and I don't not, yes, exactly. And like,
This is the skin of a killer, Rosemary.
Yeah, it is. It really is, with that horrible lipstick. And it's like, it's wonderful. I'm not knocking on her looks. It's more so of like the costuming of her.
You know exactly who she is.
Yes,
the second
exactly.
You look at her.
And I can smell the cigarette and the Chanel No. 5 on her. You know, it's a very specific age group and era that like my grandparents were kind of like in that age group. So I got to see the way that they interacted with each other. And she looks like she's been smoking indoors. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that styling kind of is part of her manipulation too. Like the first time we see her, she's wearing these bright colors.
Yes.
I love how they just kind of announce themselves as they're walking up to Terry's body on the street, which we know they are responsible for, even if we don't know exactly what happened, because Apartment 7A was many, many years after.
Yes.
But I think that's part of it too. It's like, well, she's so brash, she's so in your face, she's so visible, she can't be sneaky. Like it feels like the opposite. It's like what you see is what you get
Yeah.
with Minnie, and that's part of the disguise because she's like manipulating everything behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And I think just the fact that she's a woman, I think is part of why Rosemary trusts
Absolutely.
her.
Mhm.
Like, even though she says we don't have our own children, like Minnie has never been through pregnancy, or she has never been through a full-term pregnancy that we know of. I mean, who knows if we can believe her, but like she's still like, I don't see the couple getting as close to just Roman, you know? It's
No.
like they need a woman because they know they're gonna need to pull in a woman for this, and it's like you hear I'm thinking of the scene in Sons of Anarchy where it's like the crying baby outside the apartment,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and that's what lures you out. It's this, like, this, maternal illusion of safety, you
Yeah.
know, that I think she does very well, and it's all of these things coming together, and that's part of why even though she is a smaller part of the movie, she stands out so much because it's like everything is firing on all cylinders and it's coming together to make this really unique villain. And then once the turn happens too, she's kind of like even maternal. She's like, here's some
She's
tea.
still, like she
Exactly.
never.
She's the same person.
Yes.
She
Yes.
just there's just certain things she doesn't have to hide. Like she's like,
Yeah.
you know, is there tannis root in this tea? And she's
like,
like,
no, she's
it's
fucking
just
tea,
Lipton."
lady.
Like,
You've given birth already. We don't give a
Exactly, yeah.
shit.
We don't
Yeah.
care anymore. I don't need to trick you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are going to talk about these fucking guys and that fucking guy. Before we do that, let's pay some bills. All right.
I hate
Every-
Guy.
Every
hate
time I watch
him.
this movie, I hate Guy more.
I get
He is the
so
worst.
viscerally angry at him. Like, I don't even like his face. I hate his stupid face.
Stupid
I
fucking
would
face.
never go see a movie with him in it if he became an actor.
Oh, you wouldn't go see No One Loves an
No.
Albatross?
I don't care. I hate him. I would never. I would.
How
I
many
would become
times
a
she says
critic.
Albatross, I kind of geek out every time. It's so
I
funny.
could just give his plays bad reviews.
Yep.
I hate him. I hate him.
Mhm, I will not be going down on him in a theater. we'll say.
No, no, we shall not.
And at the end, in this final scene, he can't even fucking look at her. Like he's hiding
He's such a little
in the
fucking
back.
wimp,
He's such
just
an
a
asshole.
bitch. Yeah,
We-
and
we
not the
don't
good
like
way.
guys.
Yeah, not a good bitch, a bad bitch.
Oh,
No.
and then
No, that's
other
not
way.
right either. Yeah,
yeah.
an evil bitch.
I think listeners can tell by our tone
Yes.
the way we yeah.
Yes.
But Rosemary says after the rape that he has signed her up for, don't you think we ought to talk about it? The way you haven't been able to look at me or the way you haven't been looking at me because he knows what he fucking did. But there's also a way to read that as like she's damaged goods now. And like he is pretending that this is going to be this great happy life that they're going to have later. But like he can't bring himself to look at her because that reflects back what he's done, you know? But then she also says, I noticed this when she's talking to Hutch, you know, actors, they're all a bit self-centered and that's just kind of her excusing it. But then Guy, this is the other thing that drives me fucking insane. When she's about to give birth, he says, you're going to be perfectly all right, Rosemary. I give you my absolute word. And I'm like, one, you can't control that. And two, it's not your decision to
Your
make.
word
piece
means
of shit.
fucking jack shit too.
Mhm.
Like
Well,
in
it's
this
very much in
situation.
line with his. You weren't hurt, really.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wouldn't it just be wouldn't that be just as bad? Yeah,
we can
when
have
he-
more babies. It's fine, right? It's not that big a deal. And it's like, oh.
And we're getting so much in return
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Which he's getting.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, so Rachel, why does Guy sell his wife to the Satanists? And what does it say about their marriage?
Guys, you know what? I am so just I don't know what you want to call it, Mormon pilled, but I was like,
God, yeah.
Guy this is dad talk, you guys.
Oh my God, he would
This
be
is
in dad
he's
talk.
a member of dad talk.
Oh,
Yep.
I
With the
can't.
hat.
Well, and just also just like, oh, what can I get out of this? You're
Yep.
telling me if I
Huh?
do this thing, I'm going to get everything that I want for myself. And okay, maybe it's not really going to work out so well with my wife, but me. Like, it's that idea. I think he rationalizes it in his head that he's struggling in his career. And like, granted, this does seem to be a situationship where, well, not a situationship, they're married, but like a situation where she is not working and he is providing very kind of normative gender rules here for the 1960s. And so I'm sure he does feel some sort of pressure. They have this more expensive apartment in this fancy building, living next to some wealthy people here. And so I'm sure he's feeling this pressure to provide for her and provide for them to have a life. And I understand that, but the jump to selling your wife's body for Satan is a big one.
Quite large, yes.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's where his own ego and stuff, and he's rationalized it, saying like, well, you're not actually going to be hurt, really. Like we can get past that because now I'm going to be wealthy and successful and we can move to Hollywood, right? And we can move away from all this. And it was worth it, right? It was worth it, right? But he's just saying that to himself. So I think he's thinking about it in a way, but he's putting himself before her. It's a very self-centered approach and motivation to that I think is just rooted in his own insecurities about where he is and about his life and what he wants. And we see him trying to make peace with that in some sort of respect. But like, you're right. Yeah, he can't look at her because he knows what he did is really shitty. But the thing is, like, he did it anyway. And he never actually tries to, like, I don't know, fix it, stand up for her in any sense of the word.
Like,
because he just expects that she'll understand and agree with him.
He is
be like,
so
it was worth it.
weak, so weak. As far as what it says about their marriage, I do think that there's a lot of just, some really basic gender roles here. That it's a very traditional marriage in that sense. But what I do like about it is that there is a point where we see that Rosemary's like, when she puts the pieces together, like, oh, he's fucking in on it too. And there's no going back for her.
Yeah, no.
She's like, when she spits in his face, it's like the best thing. Like, she's like, fuck you, dude.
I wish she killed him, though. That's like my one thing. Or he
She's
died in some way. Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
fell out the window or
I
something.
don't know. Sometimes, what is it? Revenge
to
is
live,
the,
to live with
yeah,
yourself for the rest of your
is
life.
the best revenge.
Well, because they don't need him anymore.
Yeah.
Like, she knows everything. They've already got Adrian. So, like, he fades into the background. And, like, he's not looking at her, but nobody's looking at him anymore either. And, yes, he got this role. And, yes, like, Paramount is ready to make a deal or whatever. But, like, I agree. It would be really cathartic to see Rosemary stab him to death, but I also think him having to live with knowing how shitty he is. And it's like, I want to call her a trad wife, but that's not exactly
But that's what the
it
norm
is.
was,
Exactly. Well, and
like,
I think when I think about a trad wife, I think, and this is the modern definition of trad wife too, because in 1968, we weren't using those terms, or we're just calling them traditional wives,
We're just calling them wives.
Exactly. But I think the distinction for me, because I live in the South and I know a lot of stay-at-home moms, the distinction for me is you say, I don't make decisions anymore. I have abandoned all responsibilities like my level of responsibility ends at my husband, and I am responsible for everything in the home. But I don't I was listening to this podcast about, Rachel, you may have listened to it too, about this woman who had gotten out of Mormonism. And she said the hardest thing for her was learning how to make decisions because it had been so long since she had to. Which I was like, oh, and I think that is what Guy is tricking Rosemary into. Like, Rosemary thinks she is making a decision with him to start a baby, and he wants to be solely in control of all of the choices in their marriage, So it's like he's wanting a trad wife without having to get her to agree to do that because he knows she wouldn't agree to that because it sounds like it would really suck.
He's also damned them to hell. Like,
yes,
you've been proven that this exists. Like, this whole thing would prove, I'd be like, okay, so this exists. So I'm on a ticking time bomb until I die and I get to go hang out in fucking Hadesville for a bit,
But money, success. Movies.
I just
for now, you're never gonna die.
I couldn't fathom doing something like, I don't even want to do something just in case hell exists like that. And so if I had it right in front of me that it does exist, I'd be like, oh, maybe.
Did we talk about this in Ready or Not? I think.
I know
we've talked about
it. Hits me every time.
I know, and I'm always like, oh shit, I didn't think about that.
It hits me where I'm like, dude,
you're going to hell.
Because as an agnostic person, like, all I would need is, the proof of it in front of me, and the proof is in the chocolate mousse, as they say. And I would just be like, oh, okay, so God exists, and I just had the Antichrist, so I probably am not on God's list to get into heaven now. And that wasn't her choice. So maybe he would overlook that. I don't know if she can do something, but she's raising him, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't affect Guy. I think that's the big thing here. Like, he's making all these decisions, but ultimately he's only reaping benefits.
Yeah.
Like, it's so for him, it's like not that hard of a because like what his wife's gonna be moody or whatever and that kind of thing, but it's like he physically isn't necessarily like going through anything, and so sure, it's easy for him to be like, you know what, this does sound like a pretty good deal because he's only reaping the benefits, not actually having to deal with any of the literal physical consequences.
Pain, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like men shouldn't be making decisions about women's health care.
For anyone else's body. For anyone else. Like,
well, Sammy, what do you think about Guy? Other than the fact that we all hate him and he
have you thought about going like big with that idea? Do you like is that have you
extending it to
anyone?
maybe some more political stuff?
Man, it seems a little far fetched to me. I don't know.
I mean, based on the state of the world, apparently.
I love when someone who's never menstruated gets to make decisions about my menstruation. Love that. It's
never going to experience it, but
love when someone
make a law,
has no ovaries or uterus and they're like, you know what?
Yep.
I'm going to tell you about your situation.
Dogs making laws about cats.
Man, ain't that the truth? Like, Jesus Christ, guys. Not Guy, but guys.
Yes.
But to answer the question here, agree with everyone. I think, to put it simply, I think Roman knew vanity and ambition were Guy's weaknesses. You know, it was like, here's a guy, like, they couldn't have asked for a better couple to move in for them to execute this plan.
Shitty man.
Yeah, who's like dying to become a star and woman who will do whatever he says. Yeah.
Well, wants a family.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sure. So it's like it's the perfect recipe for them to concoct this situation. But I think he seduces Guy that first night just by kind of, inflating his ego and being like, oh, he's such a tremendous talent, which I'm sure Roman hasn't even seen his play. He's fucking he's understudy. When did you even see him perform? But I think, he's promising the power and the glory to a man that is desperate for it. But I do think he is an awful person before they even get their little satanic claws in him. I think it was so easy because he was already, ready to be manipulated. Like, you have to be a bad person for this to work on you.
Yeah.
So I can't sit here and say he was some angelic guy if this was, if like they gave him this idea and he was like, you know what? Yeah, actually I will do this. But I do think that it's not his only mate. Like, the career ambitions aren't his only thing that he does this for, because I do think there's a tinge of fear to his performance. And I think that Guy recognizes the kinds of powers that he's become involved in, and I don't think I should stand in their way. Like, as we see in the end, like, there are powerful people there. Like, it's like heads of different countries. Like, it's like the UN, it feels like inside that apartment. And, the whole point of this film is to communicate the horror of pregnancy. And it accomplishes, I think, by forcing the audience to sympathize with Rosemary over every other character. And I don't think it would, I don't think it would fit as well into this movie if he wasn't so into, like, already able to be controlled, and I think this Faustian bargain was an easy pullover for him. Like, it was just like, whatever, I get it, I'll do it. So the evil was there all along.
I listened to another political podcast that I've talked about before, but one of the hosts constantly says, what do I not need evidence to believe? And that's kind of what this feels like. It's like, what am I, because you're right, it's a really quick leap. It's like they dangle this role in front of him and he's like, sign me up, let's go, let's do it. And I do think that is what makes Apartment 7A for me, not Guy, but just the distinction between Terry and Rosemary, because you're right, Rosemary wants a family. She is actively trying to get pregnant and Terry is not. And that, I think, is the interesting distinction in those two movies. I still don't necessarily think Apartment 7A is nearly as good as Rosemary's Baby, but I think it's an interesting concept to play with. And how does that change the dynamic of what the cast of vets are able to do with someone who needs convincing? Because Rosemary doesn't really question the baby either. Like, she questions this pain, but she's like, I won't have an abortion too. Like, she wants this pregnancy more than anything. And so, and I always feel so bad for her too when she assumes that they want the baby to sacrifice because she assumes that the baby is fine and that if she can just get through this pregnancy and get away, that everything is going to be okay. And it's just a moment of like,
if
oh,
anything, the
Rosemary.
baby is safest
I know
with them, which is so insane. Like, think about that. Like, they want this probably, if not more than Rosemary does, you know? So
well,
it's
and
like,
they don't care about her. Like, they're willing to just like, once the baby's out, you can go on your way. We'll tell her it's dead. You go to California, you know, and that's what they assume is going to happen, which I want to talk about a little bit more later. But let's talk about Dr. Hill and Dr. Saperstein, because again, every time I watch this, I like, as a person who has been through 2 very scary labors and deliveries and everything was fine, but it's frightening. You put a lot of trust in your doctors. And I've had men doctors and women doctors, and they were both great, even though one reminded me of Ben Stein and Ferris Bueller.
Oh, God.
Just very
man.
just very, and he was great. He did a great job. Everybody is fine and healthy, but I just remember him getting in my face and being like, Jennifer, because I was like in so much pain. I was just kind of like rolling around, and he was trying to like get me to sign something. Anyways, it was fine. But like this Dr. Hill, part of me wanted to ask, and one of the original questions I had in our outline was like, what feels like the biggest betrayal? Because Dr. Hill, to me, I think, aside from Guy, it's hard to get past how shitty Guy is. But Dr. Hill, it's like he completely sells her out. And it's just because he thinks she's hysterical, you know? And then we have Dr. Saperstein being like, well, we can take you to a mental like institution if you don't calm down. And just the calmness over her as she walks in. She knows she's about to go up to her apartment and she gets away from them. And then they still get in her apartment. And it's like she is fucked. She can't do anything at this point. And that's like not even to mention how hard it is to just move around when you are that pregnant, you know?
God.
So Dr. Hill, fuck him. But Dr. Saperstein says, we'll be forced to take you to a mental hospital. You don't want that, do you? And then after the baby, this one is the when I really wanted to punch my screen. At a hospital, I might have been able to do something about it, but you wouldn't listen. It's like, fuck you, dude. So
like, I was at a hospital with another doctor.
I was going to a hospital. Also, that's not the problem here.
No, God.
No. So, Sammy, how does this movie hit in 2026?
Hard.
Yep.
I do think, though, it can be sort of hard for modern viewers to really understand how and why Rosemary responds to everything that is happening to her. Because in the U.S., spousal rape wasn't even outlawed nationwide until 1993, the year I was born.
I looked this up too and was like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's like I came into the world, and that's like what I'm like. Maybe it was the birth of me.
Oh my God. Maybe Sammy. Thank you, Sammy.
I saved us. But I was baffled by that. So I do think it's impossible to kind of fully understand her situation and legal lack of autonomy without that historical context. Although in Trump's America, we aren't too far off, but hey, at least we can have our own bank accounts now. So let's keep using it while it lasts.
Now, although they might make you get a passport soon.
Yep. So I found this article called Gen Z Men Are Twice as Likely as Boomers to Believe Wives Should Obey Husbands. This is from Much Spectrum. This next like a statistic blew me away. We love to think younger means more aware, more equal, less sexist, but this data cuts through that fantasy fast. A major 2026 survey across 29 countries found that 31% of Gen Z men agree that a, quote, wife should always obey her husband. That is nearly 1 in 3 young men still choosing control over equality in marriage. And beliefs like that do not stay theoretical. They show up in relationships and expectations, and in the everyday ways women are still asked to shrink themselves. It goes on to say, what makes this more alarming is that Gen Z men are more conservative than older men on this issue. Just 13% of baby boomers agreed that wives should obey husbands compared to the 31% of Gen Z men. On decision-making, too, the gap is clear. 33% of Gen Z men said husbands should have the final word on important decisions at home, compared with 17% of baby boomer men. So no, sexism is not simply disappearing with age. In some form, it is passed down in newer ways. And then it says, the survey also shows that these views go beyond marriage. 24% of Gen Z men said women should not appear too independent or self-sufficient, and 21% said a real woman should never initiate sex. These are not harmless opinions. They reflect a deeper discomfort with women having control, confidence, and autonomy. It is the same old patriarchy, just showing up in a younger language. And
Yep.
yet Gen Z men are also full of contradictions. 41% said women with successful careers are more attractive to men. That tells us a lot about modern sexism. Women are expected to be ambitious and accomplished, but still not too powerful, too independent, or too in charge. In other words, society wants women to succeed as long as they stay acceptable while doing it. So there you guys go.
This is why video podcasts
Pretty rough.
exist.
Yeah,
Exactly. Men, you've got to stop hitting yourself in the face with hammers.
Really
Our
bad.
faces.
It's bad. I found that wasn't even like in my initial outline. I was just like scrolling through my feed this morning and I saw that article pop up and I was like, I think I might have to share that.
Yeah.
But I would hope in 2023 or in 2023, Jesus Christ, what year am I in? In 2026, I'd hope that a doctor would take a bit of time to suss this out. But unfortunately, I think it's all too easy to blow women off and kind of chalk erratic behavior up to hormones. And
Yep.
as we
Hysteria.
see, the new generation of doctors will be some of these young men. So I can't wait.
Well, and look, if we've got any Gen Z women listening, you are worth more than that. Like, you
It's
deserve to
scary out
have
there
your
for you
own
guys.
opinions.
Yeah,
It
yes.
really is.
It's
But
bad.
you also, if you are dating a guy who believes that, that's not true.
Dump him.
Don't listen to that. Dump him, because
Dump
it is
him.
only going. Because what happens when he wants to do something that jeopardizes your health, and you have been told to defer to him in every way? It's you that is going to suffer. You are going to be Rosemary. So
He's not
you know,
right. Like he's not
right.
he's
You
not right.
deserve to make your own decisions about your
Mhm.
own body. Yeah. Ugh. Rachel.
Yeah. I listen, I have not had children, but I've had some of my own surgeries involving reproductive organs. And have had a hysterectomy for some medical reasons.
Was it
And
because
so-
you were too hysterical?
I
Yes,
figured.
I was way too hysterical.
Because
but
as we know, Rachel is just she's so
I'm just
emotional. Yeah.
yes. But like what I do find fascinating, and I will defer to you, Jen, but just my sister who has blessed me honestly with my nieces, and just the amount of things I was learning from her about being pregnant, having kids, the whole process, just everything. And what I think a lot of women probably, or just people that want to have kids in general, is the things that they don't tell you. And that's what I think is really fascinating about this movie too, is Dr. Saperstein saying, don't listen to your friends, don't read books. I know everything that's happening. Like you were saying, Sammy, somebody who cannot know what is happening. But just kind of like, you don't need to know this. I'll tell you what's important. Don't worry about that. That's normal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just the idea, I learned so much about wait, that happens when you give birth?
Yeah.
Wait, you're telling me you have to do what while you're pregnant? You're saying
Yep.
it feels like what? This is insane. It's stuff they don't tell you
Because they
or
don't
talk
want
about.
to. Because we
No,
won't
exactly.
have kids. if we-
No, 1,000,000,000%. I just find it just completely baffling and shocking. And even things that I didn't learn until after, for me, the fact that I didn't find out until after I had a hysterectomy, they're like, oh, but you'll still still go through your cycles. So just so you know, you just won't have
I
a
didn't
lot of
know
these.
that.
And I
You
didn't
still
know
have to
that
have a
either.
period?
You still have an emotional hormonal period. You just don't have the physical period. So note to anybody listening. And it's been wild because I'm like, you still have to track, but it's like, I don't have any way to know what's happening.
There's no
But-
red mark to let you know it's the
Exactly.
start.
So you still go
Ugh.
if you have your ovaries still, I will say that. So just a note, if you have a hysterectomy and you get your uterus taken out but not your ovaries, you will still go through your cycle. Just not have the physical part of it. But I think that's the thing. It's like they don't tell you all the information for whatever reason, because
Yeah.
it's either scary or they feel like you don't need to know, or I don't know. Just that's just the way it's been done. And I think that's part of what I find fascinating about this movie, is just that they know better than she does. But why I also think it's incredibly interesting and means a lot to me, that really brief moment in the kitchen with her friends,
Yeah.
when they kick
Yes,
Guy
I
out
love that
and are
scene.
saying,
Yes.
when did this pain start? No, that's not normal. What are
Mhm.
you talking about? You need to go see a different doctor. No, we're not telling you to get an abortion. Do whatever you want, but you need to get a second opinion. And
Yeah.
why I think that that scene is so critical, because this is other women who
Yeah.
have, maybe not all of them have been through this, but we know that some of her friends have kids. So for them to tell from their own experience, no, don't listen to these old white men telling you things like, we're here, we've been through this, get a second opinion. Like,
Yeah.
this is not okay. You look like hell.
Well,
Yeah.
she's so skinny. She's withering away. Like,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to have less bone density. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything but her stomach is just like, is so frail and thin and looks like it's just gonna crack. Like,
Yeah.
Sucking the life out of her.
yes. I mean, they do that though. They do that.
Yeah.
They do,
But still,
yes.
she could, there's definitely a little more meat on the bone, I think, during that
Yeah.
process. Or should
But
be.
it is just that moment of like something is wrong. And I think that is part of what Minnie does is she isolates Rosemary too. And it's interesting. I hear Dr. Saperstein tell her, throw books away. And my doctor told me to throw some books away. There's a grain of truth there because there are a lot of judgmental mommy sites out there.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about the whole breastfeeding discourse. Like it can be really toxic and you can really drive yourself nuts Googling and searching for answers because while you're pregnant, there's just not a lot of certainty there. And until you can really feel the baby moving, you're every moment you're like, is something going
What?
wrong?
Yeah.
And there's no way to know, you know? And I think, Sammy, I was thinking about this when you mentioned the back and forth motion. Like the thing I think about pregnancy all the time, and especially when I hear people making laws about who should have to carry pregnancies to full term, think about the fact that rape and pregnancy, that is not a single instant. Like you are pregnant every second of every day of 9 months. And rape is, you don't know how long it's going to last, you know, to not to be too crude, but like that is part of it. It's like, when is this going to end? And that's part of what I like about this sequence. I don't like it, but
But
I
then you
think
have
that's
to
part
live
of what is
with that
effective.
baby too.
Exactly.
Like, it's
Well, and
forever.
that's the thing. It's like you are forcing someone to change every single thing about their body, change every single thing about their lives to carry something they don't want for 9 months. And it's actually 40 weeks. So it's technically 10 months.
But from a traumatic experience too. Like
Exactly.
it's like that it never ends. Your traumatic experience is till you die or till your child dies if they're
and
before
even
you.
if they say, well, you can give it up for adoption, like that's a traumatic experience too. You know, it's so, and to watch Guy and these doctors just kind of trivialize this and like, oh, we're just going to give her a sedative and then we'll just tell her it's dead and then it's fine. And then she'll be fine because they don't take her mental state. They don't take how she feels into consideration. And I think that's the thing that is the most frustrating to me about this whole thing. It's like she's just a body to them,
A
you know?
vessel.
And that's part of why they don't tell us so many things about being pregnant. It's why they don't tell you how bad an IUD hurts, because then they would have to admit, we know it hurts this much and we're not doing shit about it. You know,
I only
and
knew
we're
because my mom told me. She passed out. It's like it's everything I have learned about my body has come from older women experiences, like or elder women like experience. Because like we don't, I know nothing about menopause. I know next to nothing about menopause. We never were taught about it. And the more like the closer I get to my 40s, and because I started my period so early, I'm kind of assuming I will probably hit menopause a little earlier. And I'm like, what am I can barely handle my emotions now. Like from what I have read, that's it. Like it's a second puberty. And I'm like, man, I did this already. I don't want to do that again.
Yep.
You know what the fucked up part of it is too? Is that the thing is like they don't know because like I mean there's so many studies because they don't study it. They don't. There's like a lack of research. I mean, it's not an accident why so many women in their 30s and 40s are just now starting to get diagnosed with like ADHD and a lot of other mental issues because all the focus was on young boys for so long that it wasn't the symptoms weren't recognized like, oh, they could be different in girls. Weird.
Heart disease for women.
There's so many facets of women's healthcare that is just secondary or not thought about, and it's not. It has never gotten like the funding and the study that it deserves, and so part of it is like honestly, they just don't actually know, which is
that's
just
scarier.
Terrifying.
Oh no, it's terrifying.
So,
and it's like obviously there's been like things that have happened and like things that are progressing in certain areas,
Yeah.
but not nearly fast enough and not nearly
Like the
it's
stuff
just
with
bananas.
endo is just like, that's because I have so much medical OCD. Like that's really what I'm being treated for right now because it gets bad. Like
Yeah.
I will literally spiral into a. Right now, my big one is like I constantly think I have ALS, which is like the smallest percentage of people. Like it is such an like it's but like I feel like my brain just I can't control it and it just goes and it notices everything and my body is changing because I'm now in my 30s too. And I recently learned that like we didn't even start testing tampons and pads with period blood until recently. And I have so I was seeing a lot of women talk about this where like my periods have gotten significantly easier since I stopped using like I have like period underwear, like lining, like those ones, and then you
Yeah.
wash
Yeah.
them and everything. Okay, so like, and my periods have become lighter. My cramps have not been nearly as intense. I forget that I'm on my period except for like the emotional stuff since I stopped using tampons and pads. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's in that shit. I don't, and maybe that's just my experience. I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to put a conspiracy hat on all of us,
Yeah.
but I do think it. Like, I have, I've been on my period since I was 8. I am 32 now, so I've noticed a significant difference, and maybe it's me getting older. But really, once I stopped using the feminine products, like, and I still use them every once in a while when I have to,
Yeah.
but like, I have noticed a significant change in my cycle, and it's not nearly as hardcore as it was when I was using the tampons because it's
Well, and
they're
that's like part of what-
scented. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Well, that's a whole, but like even like Dr. Saperstein, the way he phrases it too. And I'm glad you pointed it out, Jen, because he does say like throw away the books, like every pregnancy is different. But what it's so like just extra evil to me because he's using that again, like as a way
Yes.
to manipulate her. Like every pregnancy is different. Like you're fine. And like gaslighting her own feeling about herself and her own body.
Yes.
And like while I agree, yes, every pregnancy is different. Everybody's everything is different. And so there is validity in that, but he's not listening to her.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
using that as a reason to not believe her and make her doubt herself. Whereas saying like, okay, well, let's talk about this more. Yes, every pregnancy is different, so don't panic.
Yes.
But that he's leaving it there.
Yeah.
Just telling her,
Yes.
ignore your feelings. I know better than you. And that's what I think is like, ooh, you're like that medical
extra evil.
It's
Dr.
malpractice.
Death.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
malpractice. Is what
Have you
it
guys
is.
watched the new season of Beef?
No.
Okay, so we just finished it, and Kaylee Sweeney's character basically finds out that she has her like ovary keeps twisting around itself, and like
Ow.
it twists
That
itself
fucking
twice, and she goes to the
hurts.
emergency room. She's there for 8 hours. It is such because that. Our emergency room experience was very similar to the one depicted in the episode, and they're there for 8 hours. They won't let her go back. Like they're like, because it's just they think it's just gas or like different stomach pains. And the ultrasound says that everything is fine, but the reason that it says it's fine is because it went twice around, so it looked normal on the thing. But like then she basically almost dies. I mean, it's not. It's like early on in the season. It's part of like her character arc. Before they're like, oops. And then like a lawyer tries to come in to be like, hey, I'll take your case, because they completely fucked up. She could sue the hospital for that.
Yeah.
And so it's just things like that where it's like, at least we're getting some media where we're kind of talking about that. I enjoyed that they focused on that. And it was a major plot point to this, to the season. But like, man, guys, like, could we? I don't know. I hate going to the doctor because of it. Because I'm like, what are they going to tell me I'm wrong about? Yeah,
Maybe just
like,
listen to women.
But then
What
on
do
the
you
other
do?
hand, I think about the last episode of The Pit too, where there's this woman who wanted to have a
Yes.
wild pregnancy,
Yes.
and she's like, I'm not getting any medical care. So it's scary, like because that is not good either. And it's like there should be a middle ground.
Yeah.
But like Sammy, what you said too is like a lot of what we know about like women's issues. And I want to also say like people with uteruses, people with ovaries too, because we want to be inclusive. But like it comes from older women like Minnie. And she uses that too. She's like,
Yes.
you're going to trust me because I'm a woman.
Good
the same way
point.
Dr. Saperstein says, you're going to trust me because I've got this diploma on my wall. And it's just, it is so fucking insidious the way they manipulate her. And I think like it's an extreme case in both instances, but we see this because like that breastfeeding discourse I was going to talk about, a lot of that comes from like this grassroots granola shit. That's where a lot of like
Crunchy
maha
people.
shit
Yeah.
comes from too. It's like, don't trust the experts. And then the experts are like, well, we're not going to listen to you. Like, I understand getting like really caught and frustrated between both of those
It'd be
worlds
so
and being like,
confusing. I
it
like
really
I can't
can
like
be.
that's
Yeah.
that just sounds awful, especially as I said, like as someone who has medical OCD, like I couldn't
Yeah.
fathom that. Like being pregnant would be a death sentence for me because I would just I would think everything was wrong. Like you'd have to take my
Yeah.
phone away from me. You know, it would I would probably harm the baby with all of my anxiety.
Yeah. You really have to like,
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way too. Is like, I cannot Google anymore.
No, you
because
couldn't.
It's not going to give
my
me
therapist
any
told me to
answers.
stop. Like she was like, just don't like. When does it
Yeah.
happen? You know, she tried to like kind of be like, my homework was like realizing like when are the moments that you want to look, you know, and like what
Yeah.
triggered it. So I'm trying to
Mhm.
do that. But as far as like Minnie too, like I do think we have, you know, kind of with the crone, the mother, like, you know, like the older woman in literature is supposed to be, or like anything, like historically, is supposed to be like the person that tells the moms how to, you know, like they're
She's
there
supposed to pass on her
yes,
wisdom. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
And like our modern society has like if you're after 30 or after 40 or whatever, like you're useless to our society. And it's like, no, they used to have like they were integral to our society continuing because they were the ones preparing the next generation. And now we just are like, meh. And I hate that. I hate and it's like then characters like Minnie, you know, are like it makes it even harder for older women to kind of be seen as like that they are
Exactly.
important, you know, because they're not
Well,
all
and
Minnies.
I've been watching a lot of Housewives recently, and I will say they're not all good. Some of them are bad, but they do have a lot of wisdom. You know, it's just they don't always use it for the best. And some of them are very good, like our next category, good for her.
Claiming she could take it no more, the young mother released the emergency brake, allowing her car to roll backwards into the nearby lake.
Good for her.
Okay, I'm going to say yes. We know murder is bad, and you know, don't listen to medical advice from us. Like we're not experts. We're so you know, and also
Not at
don't
all.
blame yourself if you know you have fault. Like this is not Rosemary's fault. She was doing the best she could in a really confusing, really scary world. So if you feel like Rosemary, just know we see you and we love you. Okay, so let's talk about Rosemary. She says, you're trying to get me to be his mother. And then Roman says, aren't you his mother? So I have two kind of questions here. Why does Rosemary choose the baby? I think the first time I watched this, I did not expect that. You know, I expected her to run or try to kill the baby, maybe like kind of. And I think that's part of why we get the ending of Immaculate. You know, it almost feels like a direct, like, I don't know, a mirroring of that, except with it
The
feels a little
opposite.
more cathartic. Yeah. But also, it feels like they just stopped caring. You know, did they honestly think she would never find out, or did they not care? Or do you think this is what they ultimately wanted? Rachel, what do you think?
I think they didn't really care.
Yeah.
To be honest. I don't know if they were too concerned with her finding out. They were like, we can deal with that, but
We just
like,
need the
whatever. We
baby.
got what we needed.
Yes.
We can deal with that later. Also, why does she choose the baby? I think it's a multi-layered thing. Number one, it's like she wanted the baby.
Yeah.
And like, I cannot even imagine the hormones and everything. I'm sure there's at different levels part of her that's drawing her to this child because listen, I do not know how reproducing with Satan works, but I would still imagine that baby contains part of her DNA, that it is still part of her, and I'm sure that is something that's drawing her towards this baby. I also wonder, Jen, if there's an element of Ryan and Becca and that sort of idea that like, if I can, from the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
okay, sorry. I was like, I gotcha. Yeah.
But the fact, like, you know, because Ryan is Homelander's child, he was a product of rape.
Yep.
And that idea that she took Ryan away from everybody and was like, okay, this was a terrible situation. His father might be Satan. But if I can have influence over this child, then perhaps there is a world where his end is different than what he would have been under, like with his father in his life.
Nurture versus
So I
nature.
wonder, can't help but think like
That's
there's
interesting.
an element of her to being like, well, maybe if I'm around, it could look differently. And I know there is a sequel to the book Rosemary's Baby called
I found some of this too. I
Son
thought
of
it was
Rosemary,
interesting.
which I don't think is as good, and I have not read it. But from what I've heard, it goes a little differently. But there's an element of that there where it's like, I can raise you. It's the nature versus nurture thing. Like, how much of that is there? And so I do feel like that's a little bit of it, is her saying like, okay, maybe I can be involved and I can still be a part of my baby's life, and maybe that looks a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a couple things. If I'm taking the sequel, the book, out of the picture, and if I don't know that exists, do I think that she's always going to be around? I don't know. I think it depends. Like, I have a hard time believing that Roman and Minnie and like all the Satanists would let her be involved if it looked differently than how they anticipated. Like, she might meet an unfortunate end, unfortunately. Like, she's around as long as she's playing along.
Yeah.
Kind of thing is what I think would honestly probably happen. They're like, you can be here, you can be his mother, and you don't even have to like fully, what does Roman say? Like, you don't have to join, basically. But I do think there's an element like where she has to play along to some extent.
There are
If she
strings attached.
if she gives them too much trouble, she might go on a vacation and never return.
Yes.
It's funny because I just watched Ready or Not 2 finally, which I loved, and
I
we're
loved
going to
it
cover
too.
at some
Yeah,
point.
I
But
loved it.
it's this conversation of like, well, why won't you just say yes? And then she's like, because I have to sell my soul to Satan. You know, I wonder if there's a moment where Rosemary is so horrified by what is happening that it's easier to just kind of give in to it and be like, okay, I'll just go rock him. You know, I wonder if she's just kind of in shock there too, you know? And I think it is pretty telling that we cut it right there. Like, we don't see anything past this like 10-minute segment where she finds out she's the mother of the Antichrist, because what we know about Rosemary, I don't think she would be down
I
for
agree.
this for the
I totally
long
agree.
haul, you know? Well, Sammy, what do you think about, and you mentioned you kind of looked up what
I
Son of
did. So
Rosemary's
I will
about.
give us a little blurb about that. But as you were talking, Rachel, I was like, this sound like it's like Brightburn. Like, that's what it reminds, which I think is an interesting movie that we could cover, not because of their being a lady killer, but just like the mom aspect of it. I do think there are there's like with the Babadook or something, like that would be a great double feature. But yeah, I think I don't think that they intended for this to like for her to be involved. Like, Rachel, I agree with you. I think once the baby became not easy to manage and wasn't taking the bottle and crying a lot, was when they were like, all right, maybe you can step in
we got
and
her
help
right
us
here.
out.
She's fine. Yeah.
Like, so I do think it's kind of a circumstance thing of like, if he had been like, you know, totally cool to take the bottle and wasn't crying and shit, I don't even think like she wouldn't have hurt him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think it's an accidental situation there. A happy accident, if you will, for the Satanists.
Yeah. And I almost wonder if it's like their best case scenario, but they think there's like a 5% chance.
Totally.
You know, it's like,
Totally.
if it happens, we'll lean into it.
Like,
but
just
we're
kind
not
of
going to expect
slyly,
it.
kind of, when someone's like wants you to get to you to do something, so they just subtly drop hints.
They're
you
like
know,
mother of the Antichrist,
yes,
curious.
yes,
you know?
exactly,
Like, maybe
exactly.
we'll just like, you know.
But I think, given what we know about her as a character, I think the ending suits her, like in her personality, because she's docile. You know, she's kind of a pushover and overall pretty tender and fragile. So her suddenly killing the baby or committing suicide would be jarring, I think, and overly violent for the story and her as a person. I do think, as we said, she's long and, desired to become a mom. So no matter what he was, she was going to be there for him. And I think the ending is, in a way, her taking some power back, and saying, you know what, like, fuck you guys. I wanted a baby and now I have one, and this is my choice to take care of them. I think thematically that makes sense for her as a character, because we know that this baby was something she wanted, like desperately wanted, and she was genuinely excited about from the start, despite the horrible abuse and control that existed from everyone in every other facet of her life. But okay, so I did find in the sequel, The Son of Rosemary, Andy, aka Adrian, is not hideous and monstrous like he is in Rosemary's Baby. So there's a retcon there.
Okay.
So he does not have the demon eyes or tiger eyes as they're described in the book. There is a line or two in Son of Rosemary about him getting contacts or using black magic to normalize his eyes. He is described as having strange hands and feet, perhaps clubbed hands and feet over cloven hooves, like a goat or a stereotypical demon in Rosemary's Baby. So they they change him to look normal so they can actually use him as a character. But he denies being satanic, saying he has rejected both Satan and the legacy of the Cassavetes, rebelling from his demonic past. He is now running an international organization supporting global peace and hunger called God's Children, and he is beloved worldwide, almost like Christ. In fact, everyone has buttons that say "I heart Andy" on them in the book, I guess. So that's a good thing. But then
Sounds like Homelander.
Yes. And then in one scene, he makes a pass at his own mother, which makes Rosemary think Andy is indeed evil. And by the end of the book, as he brings about Armageddon by unleashing a virus onto the world at the New Year Millennium celebration, then Satan himself, called Joseph in the book, then summons Rosemary to hell. And it's made pretty clear that Andy was always Satan incarnate and was always acting on the devil's orders. So that's
the greatest trick the
that's
devil
the
ever pulled.
sequel.
That also means, yes, listeners, we are talking about incest again.
It's very
somehow.
Omen 3, though. Yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, come on. What's an episode without a little bit of incest?
That's true, yeah.
But because we just watched Omen 3, and I did all of the research for Mike, I was like, as I read that, I was like, oh, I wonder if they kind of took from this, because it feels like I can kind of picture Sam Neill in that situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he gets into politics, baby.
Don't they all? Yep.
Yeah. They sure
Well,
do.
Is this good for her horror? I think no. But I think the points that it raises in this conversation, yes, are good for her. Yeah. Sammy, you agree?
Oh, yeah. As much as I think the ending, aligns with her, I still desperately wanted to see her overcome these odds. No one's like, oh, man, I love that she, like, when you first see it, you're like, I love that she doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I was like mouth agape the first time I watched that ending. Like, what do you mean she doesn't come in and kick ass?
It's over?
Yeah. Like, so I think that's the horror of it, and the ending is effective because it does what it sought out to do. Because it is exploring these feelings of paranoia. That's what we're showcasing as the fear here. So while I find the point it is trying to make good for her, I don't find the character embodies the good for her horror sentiment. But that doesn't mean I don't think the film is feminist, because film is not feminist simply because a woman wins. Feminism acknowledges the cruelty women and men have been subjected to historically, and the many women who have suffered. So I do think it without a doubt delivers on that messaging. Just not good for her, for me.
Yeah, and I think the fact that this was made in 1968 and we're saying these things in 1968, that is good for her, even if it is not good for Rosemary, Rachel, what do you think? Good for her?
Interesting. So, I mean, in some ways, yes. Like, if I'm looking at the character and the journey that this character goes on, we definitely see her step into her own in a lot of things.
That's true.
And unfortunately, she's just existing in a system, in a world, in a building where a lot of these things are pushing against her really hard. So she's not able to have that big triumphant moment that we want. But you think about how far she comes from the first minute where she's constantly just talking about Guy's accomplishments and what he's in and what he does. And you see her, it's like she's constantly doing this. She's got a script where she's pumping up Guy at all times. And then you see her kind of like slowly push back on things and get her hair cut in a way that she wants.
Yeah.
And even though Guy makes it well known that he is not a fan of her hair,
I hate it.
she doesn't change it. Like, she keeps it, and we see her keep it for the rest of the film for months and months and months. It's not till the very end where you can tell it's starting to grow out just a little bit.
And that is a high maintenance cut, too.
It
Exactly.
is. A pixie
She's
cut is
keeping
a lot.
it. And you think about, it's like, what do women do when they go through something tough? They get bangs.
Cut their bangs. Yeah.
And like, this is her way of getting bangs
Mhm.
and like making a statement like, I need to have some control over my body and my appearance. And especially I can imagine like during pregnancy, she feels very strongly about that. Like, I need to do
cut
something.
bangs during my first pregnancy.
See, like I think there's something to that there. And then you see her in her relationship with Guy. You see her starting to not tell him things, doing the research with the book. You see her starting to go down these rabbit holes a little bit and seek out care for herself, have a party. Like, you know what? Fuck these guys. I want my young friends in here.
Yeah.
And just like making these decisions and then finally spitting in the face a Guy, which I think is the kind of the nail in the coffin for their relationship, because that Rosemary compared to the Rosemary that's like, oh, he was in Everybody Lives in Albatross and he does a lot of TV work and blah, blah, blah. And just like so proud of her husband just spitting in his face. Like, to me, that feels good for her in that way, that she was able to, through this extremely difficult time, have this internal transformation and take control where she could find it. However, ultimately, this whole thing is not necessarily good for her because, she's still like, I mean, I look what happened to her. This isn't a great situation for her.
Yeah.
And we don't have that final moment where we feel good about where she's at. Like, I ultimately leave this thinking like, I'm concerned about her.
For sure.
It's not going to end well for her. I can't imagine a situation where even if she gets involved in her baby's life, that this ends well for her. So ultimately, no good for her. But I'm proud of her. How about
good for us to,
I'm proud of her in this movie.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
That's interesting. And that kind of mirrors what we say about the patriarchy all the time. It's like, it's not, I mean, it is about tearing the whole thing down, but it's also about those little steps along the way. And you're right. She does have a lot of good for her moments. She does find a lot of power. It's just ultimately, like Sammy, what you were saying, the system that she's in is undestroyable at this point. And I also want to, there's a book called Trad Wife that I just read by Saratoga. I'll look it up.
They're turning it into a movie with Anne Hathaway. Do you see?
No, that is Yesteryear, I believe, which is on my list.
Yeah, I want to read that. Like, she's an influencer that gets sent back to Tradwife times. I want to read that.
So excited about that. Yeah. No, this one I think is different, and it's just very similar. But I think, because I was about to say, if this story were told now, what would it look like? And I think in a lot of ways, Tradwife by Saratoga. There's another Tradwife book coming out, so I don't want to get it. And I'll look up the author's last name, but I loved it. I tore through that thing in like 2 days. So yes, it's a complicated answer about good for her. But would we die for this movie? Would we die for Rosemary? Let's find out in our penultimate category, Die for Me.
Look at her. I would die for her. I would kill for her. Either way, what bliss.
All right, Rachel, are you going to die for Rosemary's Baby?
Yes, this movie is going to be on my body until I die.
You'll be in the casket with Rosemary.
I know. No, I love this movie. I think it's gorgeously executed, and I love how nuanced a lot of it is, the performances. Even though we don't like Guy, I really admire
I agree.
watching him in the background and how ashamed he is and insecure he is, and how Cassavetes is able to kind of just mirror that in his performance, always standing back, and just I think it's just a beautiful film, and also one that really highlights the hell it is sometimes to be a woman or identify as a woman in this world, and just how that feeling of not having anybody to listen to you and questioning yourself, but not judging Rosemary for it. That's what I think is so cool about this movie. And a lot of it does come with the fact that she is our lens to this world. Like, we are following her. And it never judges her for the decisions or the position that she's in. It's just kind of exploring that idea. I mean, come on, it's got witches and Satanism. Like, please.
Yeah,
I love that. The thing with the tiles, all of them witches.
So good.
Like,
love the Scrabble scene. It's an anagram.
Are you kidding me? Love that shit. So all of those elements, even though it's like, okay, being a witch and being a Satanist are not exactly
quite the same thing. No.
But I'm here for it. That's okay. I'll let it slide in this case. And it's just a gorgeous New York film too. The building, the clothes, like I just think it's one of those movies that's incredible on every level. To me, it's a perfect film. Not perfect in some other senses, but it's a perfect film and an adaptation. And this is one of Mia Farrow's earliest performances.
Mm-hmm.
And like she does such a good job of being innocent enough, being just the right amount of naive, but also like it's just she's so good. And I think like I just will ever like I'll forever love her because of this movie.
Yeah.
Granted, we see her in a lot of other stuff to come, but like this was like a big moment for her.
I think this is the
And-
only movie of hers I've seen, to be honest with you. I like, or like that she's the head, like the lead in. I
the
don't
lead.
think, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, I would die for this movie time and time again, and will die with it. So
Well, and there's an episode of You Must Remember This, I think, about her filming this too.
Yeah.
So everybody go listen to that because it was not I believe she was served divorce papers
From Frank
yeah,
Sinatra.
Frank
Instead of
Sinatra,
this- yep.
because she
role.
stayed to finish it. He was like, "Oh, you're not gonna come and do this other movie with me? Well, then I'm gonna divorce you."
Well, and like
Yeah.
her agent was like, "This is
Like
a
a real
guaranteed
guy.
Oscar," and
Yeah.
so that's why she did it, and she wasn't even nominated. It is considered one of like the biggest snubs in the
Because
Academy
it's
history.
just we are with her all the way through.
Yes,
you know
that performance is like on par with like I'm trying to think of like really intense, like I think obviously I Spit on Your Grave and like Revenge and like of like she's putting her body through the ringer, for this performance, and to not even get a nomination is insane to me.
Yeah.
that final scene where she's shocked in her eye, like that is one of the most iconic
it's like
moments
the
in horror
picture ever. Yeah, like
especially considering that the Academy did nominate Ruth Gordon. So it's like they
Yes,
saw this movie.
they
This
thought it was
wasn't
a
the
good
horror
movie.
bias.
Yes,
This was
no.
just like, no. And I wonder, because part of why I am going to die for this movie, I will say, because it's just, I mean, for everything that we've said, but it really showcases how hard the world can be for women and for pregnant women too.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was just kind of this was back when we sent pregnant women away, or we gave them billowy dresses so we didn't have to see it, and I wonder if that's part of it. It's like that's not a role that we are considering because that's just
or that
what
final
women
decision,
do.
maybe if it had been more of like a good, what we, the big kind of
The
like
power
bloody
of
good
Christ
for her.
compelled her.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Yes.
maybe that, but it's like it's just ambiguous enough that it's like, oh, is this the kind of character we want to reward? Somebody who's thinking about actually like taking baby Satan in their arms and nurturing them. Like, is that a performance we want to reward? I don't know, but Minnie is, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
she's the one that pulled all the strings for it. Like, which one's
I know.
worse?
Yeah, but she's evil from,
The
she starts
get-go.
evil, she
Well,
ends
and
evil.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can always blame a woman for a
Mhm.
mother for everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's interesting. And because I think the time period probably has a lot to do with it too.
Agreed.
Well, Sammy, what about you? Are you going to die for
Yes.
Rosemary's
Oh
Baby?
my God, I'm dead as a doornail. Because no one in this film would, So I
Right?
feel like we all have to die for her. And I think
she deserves it.
she deserves it. She deserves it. She deserves to be cared for and to be believed. But yeah, I will always adore this film because I think, it is about the horror of the patriarchy, not just the Satanist next door, and it has a lot to say. And I think, like you said, the time period and everything, like I will always be appreciative of what this film has done for not only cinema, but for like society, for I'm sure a lot of women around this era when they saw it, I'm sure it hit still hits home, but I'm sure it hit real home when you weren't even allowed to have a debit card, to yourself. Like you couldn't even have a bank account. So, I imagine it was, maybe it helps. I don't want to use wake up, but maybe it helps a lot of women to kind of like take action. I would like to think that. And I do think it
I bet
did.
they felt seen.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So any movie that does that, regardless of the bad people behind it will always, be important to me.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perfect example of bad people make good art.
I think so too.
So I'm glad that we were still able to do this and do it with a nuanced conversation. And it reminds me of, our conversation on Coraline. And because there are unfortunately a lot of films that I want us to cover that do come from bad people or may have bad people inside of them, but I don't think that makes them not worthy of being talked about. And I know that's kind of a hot take for some people, but I really like to stand my ground on that opinion. So I was really glad to be able to do this with you guys because I
me too.
it's always there in the background, but it's like, it's still an incredible film with incredible actors in it and an incredible message, I think. So
I agree, especially considering a movie like this and what it has done for cinema and for women in cinema. I feel like it is worth talking about, and if you don't ever want to watch it again, that's
Totally
a personal
get it.
decision.
Yeah.
We're not going to judge you for that, but I do think it is worth talking about because especially when we're talking about pregnancy horror, it's one of those things where like
this is
you
pregnancy
can't really
horror.
talk about pregnancy horror without
Yes.
starting with Rosemary's Baby
Exactly.
because that's where so much of our understanding of cinematic pregnancy horror comes
For
from,
sure.
So. And on that note, let's wrap up with what's coming next.
Unlock the next configuration. And then the last. No. I've done enough. Enough is a myth.
If you want to follow the show, you can do that on Twitter at The Lady K Pod and on Instagram at The Lady Killers Pod. You can find me at Jen Ferratu. I have written about Minnie Castevet, my old Fatal Femmes column. I did a piece on her in this and Apartment 7A, so check that out. You can also find me on the Losers Club where we are ranking the Stephen King books. We just got to our third ranking episode. I think that just dropped. And then I just talked about Trab Wife on an upcoming episode of The Stacks, which was super fun. And then Rachel and I are talking about The Boys, which is awesome. I'm so excited. And I think we're going to be talking about Supernatural coming up too.
Wait,
Because they're going to be, you've heard Jared Padalecki and Misha Collins are going to be in an episode of season 5.
Really? I did not know that. Wait, are you guys thinking of covering Supernatural or just
We've tossed it around a little bit. I think not
love
episode
to
by
be
episode.
involved
Oh yes,
in negotiations.
we
for
will
that.
absolutely let you know. We've tossed it around. It's
okay.
I don't think we'll ever cover all 15 seasons.
That's a lot. I
we're
get
not
it.
insane,
but I would be the road so far, I would be
Absolutely.
along for it. Okay.
Well,
so
okay.
don't
we'll
threaten
talk.
me with a good time.
Seriously, I know. Yeah. So yes, and then on Murder Made Fiction, we are talking about Unbelievable, which has some overlap.
Unbelievable
with Rosemary
things.
Baby.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're also talking about the Black Dahlia. So that's been also harrowing and devastating and interesting. So Sammy, where can we find you?
Jen, I suggest you listen to the last podcast series on the Black Dahlia if you want more. It's incredible. It's like a 5-part series. Like it's. I learned a lot from that. It is like college thesis level research. It's really, really great. So I would check that out. It's many episodes, many hours. I am Sammy, and you can find me at Esther K. Doll on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Letterboxd. And my suggestion of the week, it'll already be out in theaters by the time this comes out, but Shelby and I and the Boo Crew, Lauren and Trevor and Mike, we went and saw Hokum for the screening on Wednesday.
Dream Crush Adam
There
Scott.
was a Q&A with Adam Scott after, and I got to be in the same room with him. I was just like freaking out. I love Ben Wyatt so much.
I'm pulling my letters to Cleo.
So I loved it. Jen, it is going to be such a Jen movie. Like, do you like witches and urban legends and folktale and basically a 1408 setting with a Stephen King author character?
That's interesting. I've heard good things about these topics.
Yeah.
It might be appealing to me.
Also, an incredible stop motion, like these weird little like because you know how in Oddity, like it's all like that big, and it's the same director of Oddity. So there are these like weird little dolls.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one. I'm going to have to put that on Mike because I love, like Mike and I were like one of our favorites of the year so far. I mean, it's no.
I thought I was going to have a heart attack in Oddity. I had to stop it at one point.
It's scary. This one, I literally screamed. Like you can ask Shelby. I was like clawing onto her. I was. I grabbed her, and Mike was in the seat in front of us because we had so many seats. And he like after we got out of the movie, I was like, "Did you hear?" I screamed, and he was like, "No, the whole fucking theater heard you." Like it was like, "Yes, of course I heard you." But like it's been a long time since I've clutched on to someone, and I was glad she
Is
was
that
there
what
for
happened
that.
to Shelby? Is that why she's not here? 'Cause
Yes,
she's still
I left her up in the honeymoon suite, and you'll know what that means if you see the movie. But they do this,
and
like,
we're kidding, of course. Shelby will be back with us next week.
yes.
She's out of town.
I didn't really leave her up there. But there's like this. They tell the urban legend, like the Irish folk tale with these little like porcelain. They're not porcelain, but they're like clay dolls, and it's all in stop motion. And it's just like everything. It was so fat. Like I just loved it. It takes place in fall. There are jack-o'-lanterns. It is so good. So I really want you guys to see it. We can also cover it. So.
I mean, you had me at Adam Scott. That's all I need.
That's all
So
it takes.
if you guys see this movie and you want us to cover it, please, because I would love to do another witch month eventually. And it is fantastic. So there is Sammy's suggestion corner.
I don't know. I don't really like talking about witches. So,
I know you actually, you're not really into
I'm
that.
pretty anti-witch.
Like the whole time I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, Gen bait, Gen bait, Gen bait, Gen bait."
Sweet.
Like, the fact that he is literally an alcoholic author. Guys, come on.
I'm sorry. I'm writing
Green
my
flag.
pitch right now.
Yeah, so
Seriously.
it's a Stephen King character. Like he is John Cusack's character from 1408. Like stuck in a
Crazy.
hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good.
Sweet.
Dug it.
See, it's like our grandma remake with weapons. you know?
Yes,
It's like
exactly.
we're getting it without getting it.
I mean, he bleeds into everything these days.
That's true.
because,
He really does.
he's-
Yeah.
And if it bleeds, as we
if
know.
it bleeds, then yes, Holly is around.
Yes.
Well, Rachel, where can we find you? Because you're going to be talking about Adam Scott coming up soon too, right?
Are we?
I don't
Wait, what
In
do we? Oh,
Hellraiser
that's
4.
right. Yes, on Halloween.
For his 5 minutes
I
in that
haven't
movie.
seen some of these
Wow.
later Hellraisers, so I,
I
can't
haven't either.
remember.
I didn't know that either.
So,
It's,
which is I'm on that episode.
Some of
so I should
them are
probably watch it.
hellacious.
We're covering Hellraiser 4, whatever comes after the colon there. I don't remember. They all blur together.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be talking about some other little demon babies. We're going to be talking about ghoulies for our commentary.
I didn't know they were demons.
Oh my god.
Oh yes.
I just
Summoned
thought they
by
were like
Satan.
little toilet like guys.
I know.
When
That's
the
just
bit
fair.
becomes an episode, you know?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
got
no,
it.
I was like, oh my god, we can finally talk about ghoulies. This is so exciting. Not going to college in this one, just the OG,
No.
OG ghoulies. And then, I think we talked about mommies and this episode. And I'm also leading an episode talking about frailty.
I love
so
that
I'm very
movie.
excited. That'll be our rental
Daddy
car this
issues.
month. I know,
Some
to talk about some daddy
daddies.
issues.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very excited. I don't know much about the behind the scenes and everything for that
nice.
movie, and can't wait to talk about it with a bunch of other non-parents. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Ooh. And that's it for our episode on Rosemary's Baby. Thank you so much to my esteemed panel and listeners. Thank you so much for doing it. It's so funny. I almost said to my esteemed panel of Satanists, and then I was like, maybe not.
I mean,
maybe not. That's not the joke.
I've got my Black
these
Phillip
days,
shirt on.
I
She's got her
probably
Omen
align
shirt
more.
on.
Yeah, like I think these days I might align
That's
more
true.
with them. Unfortunately,
I mean, yeah,
So-
serious. It would be interesting to swat again. A modern retelling of Rosemary's Baby would be interesting.
let's get that Son of Rosemary. Like, did they make
Yeah.
a movie of that?
You know who would play it?
They
Alexander
did.
Skarsgård.
There was
we
a TV
go.
movie of that, and there was a remake of Rosemary's Baby in 2014.
Oh yeah, I think it's Zoe
I didn't
Saldana,
know.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
which was
wow.
not very good. It was a
It's-
TV series, so
One of
just
those
ignore
things.
that.
It's like, why? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got-
so-
yeah, guys.
Like,
yeah.
They're remaking Possession. You know?
Don't even get me started on that. Do you know how many
Sammy's like,
images
I'm
I
going
have
to
saved
start
for
wailing in the
remake?
subway.
I literally like
Texas
downloaded
Chainsaw
images
Massacre.
to be
Again.
like to ask something like on the socials to be like, how do we feel? Because I know how I feel, and it's not good. It's
Validate our feelings.
Yeah, the image that they chose like to highlight it is like they're smiling, and I was like, no one should be smiling in the behind the scenes. No one should have a smile on their face. This is
Have
not
you
a movie
seen
in which you,
Possession?
like we need you needed the Cold War to make this movie work. Okay.
Yes.
So, honestly, so. All right.
Could be, yeah. Well, listeners, let us know what you think about everything we've talked about, but also the Possession remake, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Have you seen Hokum? Do you also love Adam Scott?
Yes.
Tell us all of these things.
So
You
many
can-
questions.
You can do that by commenting below. And we have an email address.
Oh.
that I keep forgetting about. So
we do.
I
I've been telling a lot of people to go there.
What is it? The ladykillers@gmail.com?
I think that's it.
Wait, no.
No.
Uh-oh.
Which one?
Hold on. I'm sorry, Shelby set it up and I'm supposed to do something with it.
Oh, we have a new email?
We have a new email, yes.
I've been giving maybe people the wrong email.
That's it still exists.
Okay, cool.
It does still exist. I just got logged out of it. So,
Okay. Oh.
if you're waiting on a response from me in that email,
Hi,
then-
Sally.
Oh,
I think it's just ladykillersrage@gmail.com.
Ah, that's right.
Okay,
Lady
I will
Killer's
send
Rage.
the people I've sent the old email
We'll
to.
figure it out.
We'll figure it out, guys.
It'll be fine, you know. We're ladies. We make it work.
Yeah.
So, anyways, leave us a review about
just
how
a girl.
organized and on top of everything we are. You know.
Yeah.
You can also comment in Spotify. We have really been having a lot of fun with
It
that.
does. It's so fun. I love it.
And we are going to be back next week as Pregnancy Month continues. And I cannot wait to talk about this movie. It is totally my jam. And I'm also going to figure out how to say it right. We are watching Titan.
Oh, you don't say Titan?
Titan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Titan.
We'll Titan. We'll figure it out by next episode. But it is Julia Ducournau's second feature, Titan. I think
I've never
That's how you
seen
say
it, so I'm ready for some
vroom
crash
baby.
vibes.
dude,
I love me some
cannot
Crash.
wait.
So, and not the
But
one that won the
until
Oscar.
Oh yes, the other Crash.
The other Crash.
But until then, remember, ladies and ladies, support women's rights, support women's wrongs, and
Remember, this is no dream. This is really happening.